Demon Girl Tale of a Lax Demon Volume 6, Chapter 0, Character Introduction, Current Volume Version, introducing the characters that have appeared to date in their current volume. For the starting point of the next volume, Tsukaki Yuzu, Takuman Elementary School 3rd grader, the main character of this book. She woke up with various fragmented memories and remembered that she wasn't a human, but a demon. Because she was playing the straight man to the world at first, she seemed like a reserved, quiet young lady, but her inner self was always klutzy and rough. She wasn't a human with the power of a demon, but a genuine demon who had gained the knowledge and sensitivity of a female high schooler, who respected human values while keeping a demonic thought pattern. Keijiman Onzada, Takuman Elementary School 6th grader, General Class. The fourth son amongst 5 who were born in the temple. Onzada's family were exorcists of the religious organization called Oyama, and became friends with Yuzu recently, whom he went to school with and practiced with at the school. His personality was straightforward, but occasionally he would dig his own grave with his carelessness. At the present he is seeking to improve rapidly for the sake of protecting little Yuzu. Shijima Yuki, Takuman Elementary School 3rd grader. A talented person who had excelled in the 6th grade tests when he was in the 1st grade. He believes that he is a reincarnator from a different world with memories of his past life. Because he only remembered being an adult, he wasn't familiar with the classes children took. He has a high physical ability, wielding a large iron sword as tall as he is, with considerable ability. According to Yuzu, he's an existence that could harm Yuzu in demon form. Other Takuman school students. Nakino Handsome, Takuman Elementary School 3rd grader, the scion of the famous meat manufacturer, Nakino Ham. He had grown fat because of binge eating, but after being brought by Yuzu to discover the world, she and her friends started calling him Prince. Yuzu was a childhood friend of his, and their parents were mutual friends. His parents, who had discovered that Yuzu was the reason that he slimmed down and changed his outlook for the better, wanted Yuzu to be engaged with him. Kwon Kuki, Takuman Elementary School 3rd grader, the scion of the Kwon family, who were local celebrities. His mother was a Japanese-German mix, with a spirit that was much more mature than his age. He was interested in Yuzu, who also seemed to not act like a child. He had been worried about his grandfather, who aimed to return to the world of politics, being involved in land speculation, but his grandfather has become bedridden, so that problem was resolved. Shiji Yuyuin Kuko, Takuman Elementary School 3rd grader, the daughter of the Shiji Yuyuin family, who was of the same standing as the Kwon family. She was the betrothed of Kuki. Although she had received an education as befitting a genuine lady, she has a foolish side to her. Because of that, she had misunderstood Yuzu at first, but now they were good friends. She was also getting along much better with Kuki, her fiancé, than before. Family members. Tsukaki Koton, Takuman High School 3rd year. Yuzu's older sister. She was overprotective of the weak Yuzu, who was much younger than her, who she loved, but at some point, although they were sisters with a large age gap, their relationship changed and they became like friends. Her type of man is a mystery. Tsukaki Oba, Takuman University, Economics Department 2nd year. Yuzu's elder brother. He too was overprotective of weak little Yuzu, who was much younger than he was. But now they've settled into a botsukami routine. TL note, this is a kind of straight man funny man comedy. Recently, he feels kind of happy being off and chastised by his little sister. Ino Misa, Public Elementary School 3rd grader. Yuzu's cousin and friend. She lost her parents in an accident and rented a room with her elder brother in the ramen shop where he worked. But this spring, she was officially adopted by the shopkeeper Miss Trino. Both her appearance and personality are younger than her age, and Yuzu loves her like a younger cousin and sister despite being the same age. Her future dream is to be a ramen shop owner. Dad-chan. He was Misa's older brother, but because he looked older, he seemed to look like Misa's father to Yuzu, who gave him that nickname, which stuck. He's an obscure character where his real name will never get called despite being a main character. In the shopping district, it seems he's being regarded as the father of both Yuzu and Misa. He is the next generation ramen shop owner, with a suspicious Tokyoite accent. Others. Sakurazaki Matsuri, public elementary school third grader. She was a cheerful downtown girl with a very cute face. She believed that this world was the world of an Otome game, and was a reincarnator whose previous life was that of a high school girl. For this reason, she acted as if other people weren't people, and her personality got distorted considerably thereafter. Usually Matsuri didn't act like their energetic town girl, but as a result of her naturally high energy, her behavior became considerably excessive. Black Cat. Something that appeared before Yuzu that she couldn't catch or touch. It guided Yuzu, whose memories were cloudy, and let her awaken as a demon. I wonder what that cat's real identity is. Chapter 1, I Became a Third Grader Part 1. Recently, Yuzu, the evil, soul-devouring demon hidden in the Kanto district, was beginning to struggle with math classes. I've safely become a third grader. Oh, I'm sorry. Why was I having trouble with third grade math? Even though I said this before, since I remembered various things, I'm still organizing my memories. After all that, I originally thought I was a reincarnator. Still, I couldn't remember much about my true identity. Still, there were memories that I couldn't explain if I wasn't a reincarnator. Yuzu, had memories of having lived 15 years, around when Yuzu was born, and I had died of illness when I was 15. Since most of the memories were muddy, even though I had memories of the future, I couldn't predict the future, and, in fact, it's already changed quite a lot, so the parts I remembered were useless too. When I went to elementary school, I should never have been in the same class as either Uji-kun or Kuki-kun. And, as for the grade schooler, Uji-kun, I felt like he was supposed to gain weight. Did I do something? And anyways, how did the talk of an engagement with Uji-kun happen? It's troublesome. By the way, why had I been turned back into 5-year-old Yuzu? I wonder if I'm a rewinder instead of a reincarnator. Anyways, the reason that I thought that I was a reincarnator was because I had fragments of memory that I had spent as a demon. Perhaps, after I had died at the age of 15, I had reincarnated as a demon. Even with my fragmented memories, I didn't think that reincarnation was so easy. But I wondered if my previous life hated dying that much. In other words, was it a reincarnation by sheer fighting spirit? Why did I become a demon? Personality. Is it because of my personality? Oh, I sidetracked. Well, in short, for some reason, demon me is living in the body of my previous life before I died. Ish. What are you doing, Yuzu? Onzada-kun, who was watching me deep in thought while he was wiping off his sweat, spoke up. I didn't like the smell of sweat, but the sweat of a hard-working man was pretty to look at. I understood the feelings of those girls who wiped off the sweat of others in those girls' comics for about 2 milliseconds. Onzada-kun was a 6th grader who seems to have been given the okay from his parents to train officially, but, as per usual, we were practicing behind the animal shed. He's grown a lot too, and now there's a considerable height difference. He's already totally like a full-grown man. HNN. What's the matter? Before I noticed, I had suddenly touched Onzada-kun's face. Only one thing to do. Wow. I grasped a single hair and pulled it out. Yuzu, what are you doing? Did a strand of beard hair grow out? What? My beard finally grew? Don't pull it out. While I understand that you're happy that it grew, please shave. For a man to have stubble, isn't that wild and cool? Women like Yuzu wouldn't know. Yeah, I don't get it. But the current Onzada-kun is so smooth. Stop moving. Are you really a lady? Well, to me, I find that more comfortable. So, strange Miss Yuzu, what was it you were groaning about? Well Tilda. Are you not going to deny being a strange lady? That's not a problem. Well, a little while ago, I was thinking about my engagement. Cough. Engagement? Onzada-kun sputtered out his water and started coughing. That was a good reaction. Was this the first time I'd mentioned it? What so you mean by engagement? It's a relationship between our families. Although talk of engagement had come from Uji-kun's Nakino family, right now that was still pending. Hey, we're still elementary school students. Wait, Kuki-kun and Koko were also still elementary school students. However, I'd be troubled if I was joined to such an old family. My family's business was doing well, but it still felt like an ordinary household. So, when we became junior high students, it becomes possible for us to have both personal as well as familial relationships, and get officially engaged. So right now, my position is as Uji-kun's fiancé, provisional. However, while our feelings are there on the personal level, the family part is most definitely a hindrance. In other words, the connections with the Nakino family. I want to continue to have business relations with Nakino Ham, you know? That's what I was told. On my shoulders rested the lives of 500 company employees and their families in the Tokuki company. Well, Uchi-kun recently has gained more friends, and I think that he'll be fine because he seems to have become popular. I wonder if Nakino-san's family really just wanted to know the secret to the dieting process that much. That's why. It seems like the decision was postponed until junior high. Isn't it unpleasant? That's true. If I said that I seriously disliked him, I don't think the other party or father would force me, but I would be the eccentric mistress who only thought of her own wishes, and it would be dreadful. But that's not it. For Yuzu, who's easy to talk to, as a woman who can diffuse tension just by being around, people would love to have you be with them. What's this? Are you praising me? Are you looking for a fight? Am I some loose person? Are you worried about me? Yeah. I said that I would protect you forever. You are weak. So if you stood behind me, I would be relieved. Forever. I don't think I will die at the age of 15 this time because I became a demon. But how long will I live? Do I even have a life expectancy? That's right. Onzada-kun, do your best. As I said that, Onzada-kun, who looked somewhat cranky up until now, smiled happily and laughed. I'll be alright sticking by Yuzu even if you get into terrible trouble. I will bet my life. A thin chain floated out of my hand, even though it was much thinner than normal. This careless person. It seems he's not used to being praised, and got carried away as soon as I praised him. This chain is a demon's contract, right? Somehow, I don't have a single ounce of hesitation. If I let this get carried away any further, it seems like their contract would become disadvantageous to myself. It can't be helped. I'll have to forcibly change their contract. Well, I will also help Onzada-kun. If you help me, I'll give you something nice. Something nice? Onzada-kun's face turned red. Hey, what are you imagining? For the contract as it was right now, it would be bad for Onzada-kun if he didn't protect me perfectly. So by creating this situation where I can get out of it, I will be able to eliminate the dangers to me and to Onzada-kun. Furthermore, I should be able to fine-tune the contract's compensation. Fun. This is the wisdom of a demon who has obtained the intellect of a modern person. You don't need to do anything for me. I swear on my immortal soul. This fellow. The chain was dyed black in an instant because the word, soul, was put into it. The contract was completely fixed. What do I do? Well, I guess I'll manage somehow. And another thing I noticed. There wasn't just one chain. If I don't check it, I can't rest easy. But, something good. Although I said that, some things are impossible. Okay. Yup. If it's Yuzu, anything is fine. Appropriate. When I picked up the pet bottle of water that Onzada-kun spilt, I smelled something strange. Drinking that became a habit when I was doing exorcisms, but I got annoyed when I had to buy it with my own pocket money. Fine. When I gently placed the pet bottle on the ground, I smiled and beckoned Onzada-kun. What? I softly rapped Onzada-kun's cheeks with both of my hands as he approached, gently staring into his eyes and keeping him quiet. Oh, oi. Yuzu. Really, this person. I twisted the cheeks of Onzada-kun, whose common sense was misaligned to the limit. Oh wow, it's obvious. You idiot. The contents are of course OUTL, insert clear alcohol of your choice, as the author couldn't choose. Onzada-kun really causes me anxiety. I kept him seated down on the ground and explained it properly, that his judgment was dulled, that it wasn't good during exercise. And since there was the possibility that he might have broken the building, I explained to him that he should keep it to the level of a single drink after work, and Onzada-kun, whose cheeks were swollen, nodded obediently. Because Onzada-kun had really only ever been training, his common sense was weak. Me. Several months after I awoke as a demon, I became able to hear a voice. The voice of a child crying out for help. Whose voice was that? Where did it come from? I didn't get any answers even when I yelled out towards the night sky. It's a little annoying. And ever since I heard that voice, the number of crazy assailants increased. Once I saw their eyes, I understood. They weren't in control. They were insane. They were being manipulated. These people's heart's desires were taken advantage of. Their intentions were being controlled. That's it. Aniki, I'm still preparing. Oh, don't take your time, okay? Fuyuyu. The shop is closing soon, Aniki. On a certain moonlit night, a pair of strange people were trying to harass a store at the corner of the shopping district. These people were not related to the Kuan. They seemed to be related to the stakeholders of another property developer who was taking advantage of the muddy waters that the Kuan family had dredged up by their hand. The scale was much smaller, though. Yeah. I'll quickly set the fire. Did you bring a lighter? Yes, big brother. I'll prepare it quickly. Yes, this. Oh, how sensible. Big bro. There's only the matches from the pub. Oh, you idiot. Give me the lighter. The two of them stared at the disposable lighter in the Aniki's hand, and turned their heads to the one who was standing next to them slowly. Oi, what is with this brat? Aniki. Oi, because you've seen us. Don't think you can get back safely, now, brat. Aniki is seriously showing off now. Awesome. Yoon. They were surely being manipulated. Surely such people can't be sane. They were interesting people, but for the time being, I dumped them into the space between dimensions. I firmly believe that they would be able to maintain their energetic selves even in a different dimension. Well, why were the desires of these people to attack these properties being used? After all, I'm not supposed to be here today. After that was over, while walking about the shopping district at midnight, a presence I knew appeared. Good evening. You're right on time, Yuki-kun. What were you just doing? Yuzu. Chapter 2. I became a third grader. Part 2. Shijima Yuki-kun, who had come for the meeting right on time, unmasked and turned his face away in embarrassment when he noticed that his actions had been seen. Although I was waiting for Yuki-kun in the middle of the night, this wasn't some secret rendezvous, and if anything, our feelings could not be further from that. If I were to describe our relationship, it was like meeting someone again when I'd just come back from Tokyo to the countryside, and even then, more like one of my classmates from back there who had a bad relationship with me. All we really wanted was information on each other's place of origin, and then, just a little bit of the nostalgia that you get from fellowship. I wonder, well then, shall we move on? Oi. Do you know what you were doing just now? Moderate your strange experiments. Did it bother you? To the inhabitants of this world? Well, whether they live or die, or if you kill them, it doesn't matter to me. How barbaric. It seems that there were various things had happened when he was being reincarnated. Even if I was doing something, I thought of all the experiments done by the mages who had quit on their humanity but never felt bothered by it. Anyway, we started moving off while the feeling was like that. It's so amazingly easy since we don't need to use vehicles like regular people. Well, for two elementary schoolers to get into a car at midnight would stand out. Yuki-kun, with his high physical abilities, jumped from rooftop to rooftop, not worrying at all about me behind him, and I followed without saying a thing. I've gotten quite used to using magic power to move my body. Because of that, I feel like the inside of my thighs are getting squishy. What do I do? Will this area work? It should. We arrived at a big disused factory in the middle of the industrial district, and dropped down. It was for the sake of an information exchange that Yuki-kun and I met at night. If it was just normal information, we could have done it in school. But Yuki-kun didn't want to speak about his past life much. And what I wanted to know was about their sorcery of his world. And what Yuki-kun wanted to know about me was their magic of opening dimensional walls. So I couldn't practice where there were people, and had to change locations every time. Fire at the root of all things, gather in my hands, become arrows and defeat mine enemies. Flare arrow. Whoosh, and from Yuki-kun's hands, arrows of flame about 30 centimeters long flew out, scorching the concrete walls. Basically you memorize the incantation, keep a clear image of fire and arrows, and shoot in your head, and it'll activate. Of course, there is no magic power in this world, so it won't work for humans. Incantation? The thing that I was chanting a while ago. Ah, I see. I thought that it sounded weird, but it seems that it was translated. Translated? You have the translation skill. What's that? In the world that Yuzu lived in, was it the same as this world, without skills? No. Is there no concept of this? I also lost my usual skills, and even there, secret arts could not be used. That's the difference? But then that means that the translation of the cantrip in the first place. Oi tilde, come back, aren't you? Just using words? Although they weren't words used by people, I knew them, so they just automatically translated. No way. You know the language of the greater spirits. Although I have heard rumors, aren't they completely unpronounceable to humans? But then, the spell shouldn't make sense. What do you mean? If you are using the language of the greater spirits, just by putting magic power into your words, you would be able to cast real magic. What I use is merely the knockoff that was made to allow humans to use it. Thinking about how long it took me before I understood the meaning of the spell, Yuki-kun had an exceptionally sulky expression for his age. Apparently, it seems like he was quite the serious fellow in his past life. That being said, I was doing it unconsciously, but I used magic with the spirit language. Even in that school, I imitated what Yuki-kun was doing and pointed my hands at the wall. Flames come out. Puzu. A tilde. Why did it turn out like that? Yuzu's magic power is strong. It's to the point that it's superhuman, and that might have influenced it. I felt magic power even the first time I met Yuzu, so I was cautious. I couldn't see you status. Status? What's that? Yuki-kun, who I thought of as quiet, normally grimaced, but in our current state of cooperation, because it seemed like he was an accomplice, it seems he gave up, and gave me a detailed explanation as to what was wrong. Ah, it feels like a game. Well, it feels like that. When I translated it into the words of this world, it was most casual. Even my hero's secret art, Fuan. As expected, he's a hero type. As I understood that, I knew that Yuki-kun was the natural enemy to demon me. What? No, just thinking about how Yuki-kun plays games. It can't be helped. My parents bought it. It would be very odd if I didn't play. Yuki-kun, who had been taken in by my words, turned red and made an excuse. My parents now are the good people. My family has not lost. Don't tap my shoulder while having that strange agreeable smile. Fufafu. TSCH. Yuzu, show me your status. I couldn't see it in school because I didn't have the time. In the meantime, you have to stay still. So it's a little unnatural. I want to see it too. But how do you see it? Can I use it too? I can use it, but the time spent depends on the magic power being consumed. It is about 5 minutes at maximum magic power. If I cut down on the power, it might take 30 minutes, perhaps. Then in 5 minutes, please hold still. We are normal humans, after all. Normal, huh? Hiro-sama is not a normal human being, is he? Before that, I'll briefly explain. I was told the average values of a normal person. Physical endurance, 100. Mental endurance, 60. Strength, 12. Defense, 10. Dexterity, 10. Intelligence, 7. Magic power, 8. It seems that this is the status of the general adult male. How much is physical endurance 1? What is it based on? What about the mental endurance of an insect? Please don't ask such difficult questions. It's because I'm worried. This is not a game world. According to Yuki-kun's explanation, a great magician in the past decided on it after talking to a greater spirit, and the numeric values were approximate. The smaller decimals were rounded up. So even mosquitoes and cicadas who had Physical Endurance 1, would die by being stepped on normally, but if small animals had the same, Physical Endurance 1, they would not die from being stepped on. In short, their Physical Endurance 1 was rounded up, so in fact it might only have been 01. Even if there was a person with Physical Endurance 1, they wouldn't die by being stepped on because the body itself had a durability and defense value thanks to its size. If one didn't kick, or only hit it lightly, the physical endurance wouldn't decrease. Such a stupid living thing is impossible, though. Well, for the time being, enough about skills and magic. Let's try to eavesdrop on their hero's secret art that he doesn't want to talk about. Then, be still. 5 minutes long. Please spare a thought for the hardship I have to go through. Besides, I would think it's natural to take time to read what a soul contains, because the information will be on the floor for a few seconds. Don't miss it. Understood. Yuki-kun was surprisingly kind, although you could think of it as being good-natured, but I guess it's because he's well-bred. And I felt magic power coming from Yuki-kun. A few minutes later, exclamation mark. Yuki-kun. Yuki-kun's expression suddenly paled, and sweat dripped from his face onto the ground. What's going on? When I tried to rush over, I noticed the letters floating under my feet. I didn't need to see them now. While I thought so when looking at them, the strange letters jumped into the light. Name, Epsilon Rho Cent Sigma Alpha Pound Age, 8 Race, Xi Iota Alpha Beta Omicron Lambda Gender, Female. Physical Endurance, 57. Mental Endurance, Mu Epsilon Phi Psi Iota Pound Mu Zeta. Strength, 5. Defense, 4. Dexterity, 7. Intelligence, 2. Magic Power, Mu Epsilon Phi Psi Iota Pound Mu Zeta. What's this? Why is my intelligence so low? Shijima Yuki was born to an ordinary household 9 years ago. His family comprised his sister and their parents in a 4-member family, and if the child currently in his mother's stomach was born, it would become 5. His older sister, who was 3 years his senior, believed that his younger sibling would be born a girl, and played sword-fighting games and had silly disputes with his father, all while the mother smiled and stared at them. In this happy family, only Yuki was different. While he was always close to normal, he would always pull away from it just a little. It seemed that he was afraid to involve himself more than was necessary. The hero of wind, Fortalice. That was Yuki's name in his past life. When he was born as a baby that couldn't hear or see well, anger and hatred was born in his heart. Yuki. No, Fortalice had been betrayed by those who protected his friends and comrades in arms, the other heroes in the world that Yuki was in. Their forces of light were the humans, the elves, and the dwarves, while their dark forces were the dark elves, the beastmen, and the intelligent monsters, and they had been fighting each other for thousands of years. Their darkness, who were good at robbing others, were the stronger, while their forces of light were the weaker in the war. Requesting for the hero to stand at the front lines, genius magicians and priests spent a long time completing the secret arts for the hero, also known as their hero system. Originally, heroes were born from the spirit of light, giving their divine protection to a fitting person when humanity experienced a crisis. However, the conflict between the races wasn't being regarded as a crisis for humanity for the spirit of light, and no hero was born. Then, using the hero's secret art, they forcibly gave the candidate the light attribute, and produced an artificial half-hero, and some of them virtually had the divine blessings of the spirits of light. But, it seems that it was too difficult for them to use a lot of magic powers, and rather than talent, it needed their souls to be strong. Although a small number of them could handle it, 1 or 2 in 100 years was too helpless, and the magicians consumed a huge amount of magic power and cast a large-scale magic to summon heroes from another world. The souls that could cross dimensions were often strong, and although not everyone called had strong powers, they were able to overcome their weaknesses. The 4 heroes who had survived at that time, with the inscriptions of the 4 great elements, married the princesses of the 4 greatest powers on the continent, and each became a king. Since then, for over 1,000 years, the conflicts between the light and darkness hadn't ended, and thousands of people continued to be summoned from other worlds. It wasn't officially decided that there would only be 4 heroes, but in any single age, there were never more than 4 heroes. It was because their hero's secret art was difficult and required immensely strong souls. In the era that Yuki lived in, the heroes that were summoned were only 3, and all of them were still young boys, while the king of the Hako Kingdom, who could not summon a hero, appointed the son of the Knight Commander, the most talented knight, Fortellis, as a substitute until a hero could be summoned. Fortellis wasn't the equal of the heroes summoned from another world, but from his inborn seriousness, he grasped the ancient secret art that the other heroes could not, and with the powers of healing and magical barriers, he was able to show his power on the battlefield. Then, when compared to the heroes summoned from another world who had suddenly experienced being worshipped and grown arrogant, people began to pin their hopes on the hero that was from their own world. And then, as Fortellis' name spread far and wide, when he set off with only a few elites and his followers on a mission to assassinate the Dark Elves King, Fortellis, the hero of wind, was murdered by the heroes from another world. It was a betrayal by the fellows whom he called his comrades. A cowardly trap that had been laid by his followers, who had been blinded by gold and fame. In his suffering, pain and despair, he was swallowed up by the darkness, and when he came to, he had become a baby, reborn into the world of the heroes who had betrayed him. He did not feel like fighting for his world anymore. This world, the world where the other heroes had come from, became the subject of his hatred. Among all this, only the girl called Yuzu, who had come from another world that was not his own or this one, could let him put his guard down slightly. He had first seen her when he'd entered elementary school. It wasn't just because he had felt the magic power that this world had nearly none of from her. She was as beautiful as a demon deceiver. Yuki was wary of Yuzu. But, even though he guessed that Yuzu was some unhuman sorcerer, whose character was innocent and not cruel, she was a fairy-like girl who did not understand the difference in the value of life of humans and animals. Yuki, who tried to appraise her power, got dizzy from the sheer amount of information that was distorted, and her magic power, which could not even be determined by the upper limits of the appraisal, was proof that her magic power was much greater than his, and he smiled quietly. Yuki quietly sharpened his fangs as he thought of using Yuzu. Someday, he would return to his original world, and take his revenge on those heroes. Chapter 3, Turned into a Mob Character Part 1. On a quiet piece of land in Kamagura, an old man lived away from his family. The house wasn't as big as the ones surrounding it, but for a single person, it was extensive, and could even be called a mansion. Originally, this house was prepared for the sake of spending the rest of his life together with his wife after he relinquished his company to his son. But his wife had left him and the world a few years ago and risen to heaven. Written on the nameplate of the house was Tukaki. When he was younger, he'd started his business together with his wife, and by luck, they had gotten acquainted with the heir to a large corporation, and the company grew immensely in one generation. But that was also because his wife was beside him and supporting him. He'd met his wife around the age of 20, and the moment he saw her for the first time, he knew that she was the one. At that time, she had just lost her fiancé, and after healing her heart for 3 years, he was able to marry her. He'd founded his company, and had children, and it was a smooth life, though busy. Hence, he'd always wanted to live with his wife together quietly when they grew older. But after giving up the company, and beginning to live in the world of their own, he'd lost his wife to illness. Unable to fill up the sense of loss, he lived alone in this house that he'd set aside to live with his wife, away from his children and grandchildren. He gazed at the garden idly. Every day, the housekeeper would come by to prepare the meals, but he despised interacting with people, and never ever had a conversation. Who was the last person I talked to? To him, though, that wasn't a big problem. He didn't want to disturb the memories of his wife in his mind, and forget the time when he was happy. However, he recently found something strange in his memory. He had met his wife when he had become an adult. But, when he plumbed his memories, He would remember the look of his wife as a child, the eyes of his wife when they were young, staring at him, exclamation mark. When he had noticed, there were a pair of eyes that were the same as his wife's staring at him from the garden, eyes that closely resembled his wife's. But it wasn't the phantom of his wife as a child. And, dredging up his memories, he remembered his granddaughter, who greatly resembled his wife. Yuzu. Is it? That's right, grandfather, Yuzu said, as she smiled. After not meeting his granddaughter for many years, she had grown much larger than she had been previously. Why was Yuzu here? Yuzu smiled, and held out one hand towards him. She grabbed the little black chain that shone in her hand. A chain was linked to his chest. In that instant, he remembered what had happened before he'd met his wife. What had happened in his past life, and of his life before that. And when he saw the light in Yuzu's eyes, in the same light, the shape of a beautiful, golden demon appeared before him. You remember everything? No. I remembered the reason why I am here. With a gentle smile, he bowed deeply towards his granddaughter. Thank you, Yuzu. Grandfather was able to be happy. When he raised his head, his granddaughter was nowhere to be seen. No way. Another one of the chains was connected to my grandfather. I wonder what I did before my memories was messed up, but the new one seems like a long-term contract. Well, whatever. I noticed something recently. What was with me taking math for 6th graders? Even though I thought it was strange, but the ordinary classes learned mathematics for 3rd graders. The curriculum is different only in this class with Kuki-kun and Koko. Apparently there was one class in the entire grade, a class for special children, which has been adjusted to be of the same difficulty as a special class for those who are trying to skip grades. Right now, it's a lesson of a junior high standard, but thanks to having a tutor, I managed to still get into the 4th grade safely. I am already quite a woman, a young lady, if you will. I refuse to be called a little girl. I've started to swell a little. Yuzu-chan, would you like to study with me? It was Uji-kun that spoke to me. He had already become completely slim, and even if you looked at it from any angle, he was already getting flocked by all the Onisamas who were in love with him. Amazing. It was no longer stomach pain-inducing like when the prince like Kuki-kun called Uji-kun, Prince. That time. I really am a demon. Really? I would be happy if Uji-kun would help me, but where? Would you like to come over? My parents aren't home on the weekdays. Eh? Of course. It's not like I'm nervous that his parents won't be there. I was just thinking about what he said, but since he spoke all of a sudden like I was his junior high or high school girlfriend, my voice leaked out unconsciously. Did I say something wrong? My younger sister Minako-chan wanted to meet Yuzu-chan, so Uchi-kun also noticed what he'd accidentally said, and flushed red as he shook his head hurriedly. Minako-chan, is that one who was originally going to be Venus-chan? Uchi-kun showed her to me on his cell phone, and she was saved from the fate of a storyboard, of doujinshi and manga. She was a cute child, like she belongs at a ball. Well, since she'll be a first year in Dakuman Elementary School this year, I'll be able to meet her anytime. Uji and Yuzu-chan are fiancés. Isn't it alright for the two of you to be in the same room? From the side, Kuki-kun cut in. Kuki-kun, you do know our engagement hasn't been made official, right? Although, the two of us didn't have a problem about it becoming official. But is it alright as an elementary schooler? Minako-chan is also there. Oh, was that so? But I don't care about that. After all, Koko comes over to my house often and we study together. Yes. Standing next to Kuki-kun, Koko's cheeks turned red, and she bashfully touched her fingers together. Are you really doing normal studying? Right now, we are in the school cafeteria having tea. Since the opening ceremony is tomorrow, I don't see any other students, so I can relax. So, why are the four of us at school today? I came to help Koko feed the animals, and Uji and Kuki-kun came to be our bodyguards. Can the two elementary school boys really be escorting us? Unquestionably. Just by having the three of them together, some private security guards came to the school. That's right, Yuzu-sama. Let's borrow one of the conference rooms after school to study together. Can we borrow it? There was a conference room for professionals and others for the school's use, such as meeting with external vendors. but I'd never heard that students could borrow it. There's a conference room that's been contracted for a year to the Kyuan family and the Shiji family. Although it's small, but I think it's enough for 4 people. Is Uji alright with it? Yes. If Yuzu-chan is willing, I can go anywhere. Before I knew it, I'd decided to study in this group of 4. No. Is that it? Given my grades, it seems like I'll be the one teaching the other 3. But actually, why are you guys able to just borrow school facilities? Indeed, the daughter of the upper crust of society doesn't hesitate. But to study at the level of a middle schooler? What was I doing before I fell sick? However, what is it, Yuzu-chan? Nothing. I wonder if Uji-kun accepted the engagement as something normal. I looked at him with a smile now, but since his attitude didn't change from kindergarten at all, it's become even more difficult to understand his feelings now. Even though you're so popular amongst girls, why did you still pick me? Even if I do say so myself, I'd be anything but the bottom of the relationship charts amongst those in our year. Did you hear? It seems like there's going to be a transfer student to our year this term. Koko's cute hands clapped together as she brought up the topic. With her adult beauty and her cute behaviors, she gives off that Gapmo feel. I'd have to wear glasses and a suit when I get to middle school to do the same thing. Transfer student in the elementary division of Takumin? That's rare. That's right. I think it's more bothersome than just entering the special class in middle school. My words, supplemented Uji-kun. If you wanted to enter the middle school, you only needed to complete the special course. If you wanted to put the Takumin brand on your resume, it didn't make much sense if you hadn't already gone through the 6 years from the start. So if you were to transfer in halfway, it wouldn't be for some strange reason. On top of that, they would need to have considerable academic ability, along with good connections and a sizable donation. I didn't care about it at this time because it wasn't that unusual. I didn't think that someone strange would appear. You there, could you come over for a moment? After taking a note to the staff room after school, as I took a shortcut through the school and passed by the school building, I almost did a double take when a pigtailed person called out to me. Wrong. What I was calling out wasn't the hairstyle, but rather the body, a big ribbon that could be used for a fan that somewhat reminded me of a desperate rookie performer at the bottom. Oh, perhaps. Are you waiting for it, Tsukumi? What are you saying? You come over here quickly. It seems that without hearing what I said, she began to walk over rudely. No, I didn't expect to actually see a twin tail tied with a huge ribbon in the 4th grade of elementary school. Is this the main character of some girl's manga? And so I waved her off, picked up my bags from the classroom, and studied with Uji-kun and the rest of them. Then went home. That was the second encounter with her, the self-proclaimed heroine, Matsuri Okazaki. Hey, you, where are you going? The next day, I was caught again by Matsuri. Since Onzida-kun had advanced to the middle school section, my range of actions after school had narrowed. The middle and high school are next to each other, but they're a bit far from the elementary school. That's right. Why are you fiddling with the phone while I'm talking to you? Friends email. A mob character has friends? But I don't care about that. Come over here. I have some questions for you. Matsuri started to walk again without waiting for my answer again as I replied to her. I responded to Onzida-kun's email. Is there a sashimi set meal in the school meals? You don't have such a thing in your school meals? It's not normal. Please eat deep-fried food like a normal male middle schooler. I replied and I went home as per usual. Let's go to Dad-chan's for ramen. Will Onzida-kun come? Chapter 4, Turned into a Mob Character Part 2. Why aren't you following me diligently? If I'm walking alone while talking I look like a fool. 2 days later, I encountered Matsuri again. How strange. I changed my route home, so how did I still meet you? Anyway, just come over here. Was Matsuri capable of learning? She grabbed my hand this time and started walking. After walking for a while, I was brought to the back of the equipment room where people didn't come at all. This place will do. Really, it was all because you're such a dullard. Don't get lost this time, okay? Got it. I didn't get lost. How is it? Are you surprised? I made it into Takumin. Yes, I was really surprised. It might just be me, but shouldn't you have said that line when I met you on the first day of the year? Anyway, I already knew that Matsuri was the transfer student even before I met her. I was going to enter in junior high. It's true, but I felt like the events were progressing too quickly, so I got Dad to get me in. Events? It's alright because you're a mob character. It's okay if you don't understand anything, you know? Pupu. It's sad to be a mob character. Mob? Fufu. To be able to speak like this to a mob character. It's certainly a really good simulation. I don't discriminate, even against mob characters. I will add you to my group. Right, you'll be an easy mark for a spy. It's quite annoying. Certainly. The timing is different, but I should end up in the same class as Kuki-kun due to the heroin correction. Matsuri, who spouted all those interesting things, didn't end up entering our class. It was possible to transfer in from outside with appropriate connections and donations, but our class was fixed for the year, and it was impossible to join the class unless one was an amazingly talented person like Yuki-kun. In short, Matsuri's academic ability was insufficient, and ended up in the regular class. And also, there was a rumor being spread. After all, I'd made a video before someone making a racket after climbing over the outer wall of Takumin's school, and after I showed that to Kuki-kun, who'd burst out laughing. It seems that some other people in other classes had seen it. Then, on the first day of the transfer, I am Sakurazaki Matsuri from the suburbs. Please take care of me, with a self-introduction that could have been accompanied by a Yarou noise. People who'd watched that little animation were straining their abdominal muscles. Matsuri was truly a sinful child. Mob character. Tell me, you know Kuki-kun and Handsome-kun, don't you? Why is Kuki-kun by Kuko's side? Hearing Prince Kun's full name for the first time in a long while, my body twitched and trembled. Is this becoming a trauma at the level of the soul? Aren't the two of them fiancés? Isn't it all right, for a beautiful couple? Mob child. What kind of joke are you trying to make? There is no way that that villainous daughter is a beauty. I don't know what you're thinking. Is that so? Kuko might be easily misunderstood. To me, though, the inside of Matsuri's head is in a completely different dimension. What the world is a mob? Is it a technical term? I guess she heard that Kuko was a villainous daughter. That's right. Besides, Kuko had drawn herself away from Kuki-kun, so shouldn't their relationship not be that great? Are you familiar with Kuko? It's well known. Is that so? That's right. And now, Handsome-kun. Twitch. Why is he so thin? He's supposed to be getting slimmer in the second year of junior high. Was it because I remembered the events, that they came early? But I think it was a lucky turn. I didn't expect him to be so cute since his elementary school days. Such improper talk. Although I agree that he's cute. Onzada-kun sent me an email. If I can successfully solve the problem here, I can bring the events up ahead of time. But he's not a junior high school student now, so I can't get rid of the vengeful spirits. Well, although it started early, there's no common ground, so I can't advance. Hey, mob character. Do you know of Onza-kun, who's 3 years older than you? He's a boy with a wild feeling. I don't know him. Onzada-kun. Do you also want to go to Dad-chan's ramen shop? Didn't we have it just 2 days ago? Did you like it a lot? And, send. What, you're no use at all. Well, he should be the son of a priest in a temple. Hey. More than that, about Kuko. Her behavior is different up until now. Perhaps. Yeah, that's surely right. She also has memories. Because this story is a staple. I've gotten lots of emails from Onzada-kun this year. Because he was in junior high, when he wanted to eat he went alone. But when he was with me there were a lot more service. I did it again. That's why I said that it would only be okay when I turned 20. There seems to be a need for me to teach you a little. Mob character. Can you prepare a dead animal? Kagoshima Waja sirloin is good. Why are you suddenly thinking of putting such high-class meat in the shoebox? I got it as a Christmas gift. But I can't eat it yet. Nobody ever gives such stupid presents. But I have it. Most of it ended up being processed and eaten with my family or distributed to the employees. But it seems that I made a mistake thinking about consuming only the fillets and sirloin because it was a gift. There's still a lot of it in our company's freezer. Oh well. You should go and spy on and grasp Coco's weaknesses. I have something else to do for now. Fufu. I'm looking forward to it. I didn't quite get it, but there was something about Coco. Having said everything that she wanted to say, Matsuri skipped away as if flying, and left. What was that? It has nothing to do with me. Please leave me out of your gossip. That girl. What does she want with me? Fufafu. Watch me. Coco. Matsuri grinned while looking at the white plastic bag that I'd brought. Inside of it was the dead bodies of some mice I'd bought at the pet shop yesterday. But it wasn't for harassing Coco by putting it in her shoebox. After all, in Takumin, the personal lockers for shoes and luggage couldn't be opened without a keycard. Then, what use was there for the rats? Matsuri seemed to have no clue, apart from what they were usually used for, but it seems she's not stupid. Takumin wouldn't allow a student without the academic ability to transfer regardless of how large the donation was in the first place, so Matsuri had to have more than just these hobbies. Matsuri was contemplating the current situation. In the memories of her past life, when someone was reincarnated as the main character of the game, she knew that there was a possibility that they weren't the only reincarnator. Although she thought that events were advancing quickly because her memory had returned, but given that Matsuri hadn't involved herself yet, it seemed natural to think that there were other reincarnator involved. Who benefited in this situation? Matsuri, who thought that only Coco benefited, and believed her to be the reincarnator. Perhaps, in order to force the heroine to act to generate an event, Coco would make up being bullied. Coco would try to use it to cause the heroine Matsuri to fall into a trap. Because Matsuri was the legitimate heroine, she thought that it was her right to attain the harem end, which was the selling point of the game. Those who disturbed this would not be forgiven. Coco in the game was jealous of Matsuri, who was making friends with Kuki, and would make sarcastic remarks about her out of jealousy, and repeatedly harassed her. Although she denied it even when there was a conviction event, Kuki believed in the heroine Matsuri, and dissolved his engagement with Coco, who refused to admit to her crimes. If Coco was a reincarnator, then in order for her to be framed for a crime that she couldn't avoid, she would desperately need to get the alibi of a friend. Perhaps, since she was recently secluding herself somewhere after school, it wasn't wrong. Then, what should she do? If I can't think of anything, I just have to start some trouble. Everyone was free to enter and leave the locker rooms according to their class and gender, but since some people would change clothes inside, there were no surveillance cameras. Matsuri entered the locker room while grinning, and threw out everything in her locker, trampling the still warm corpses underfoot. Her new textbooks, shoes, etc., were all covered in blood. There were many things that she hadn't used yet, but she would be able to buy new ones again as soon as she asked for them from her father. And as her brand new packages got soiled, Matsuri's position as the victim should be set in stone. Matsuri intended to let the suspicion for this be gradually guided onto Coco. There was no need for other evidence. On the contrary, there was no evidence. So if Matsuri put on a show, she wouldn't get there. Matsuri herself also didn't intend to make a fuss about Coco being a criminal. The only people who could open the lockers other than herself was a teacher or someone like Coco who was able to influence teachers in the game. A clever person. For example, Kuki would be able to conclude the answer for himself, and it was enough that he started to distrust Coco for having her own way. The rest of it, in the setting of the game, it was said that Coco liked a certain character, so she would drop a pen with that mascot character to seal the impression. If I repeat this a few times, Kuki would have accumulated enough distrust in Coco and begun to have interest in me, and his favor levels should increase. It'll be good for him and me. If the nuisance didn't exist anymore, then the event with Handsome would be able to proceed. If the two of them, Kuki and Handsome, were simultaneously captured, the capture of other characters would be possible, and their 18 restricted. Events need not begin in high school but rather from middle school. Imagining a sweet erotic event with Kuki, she couldn't suppress a smile, and Matsuri left the locker room with her face hidden in her hands. Although this is unrelated, do you know of the story where the land gets purified right after a demon passes by? This is because when the demon is nearby, carcasses of those who were murdered would decay into nothing, and instead of generating disasters from the miasma, a hungry demon would eat up all of the miasma. But that was only the case for lesser demons and greater demons. If there was a higher-ranking demon there, what would happen? That day, Yuzu happened to pass by. There was no particular meaning in that, just that she was a little hungry and entered the shop. Even if she ate human foods, the demon wouldn't be satisfied, but it was better than nothing. As Yuzu passed by, the dead mice decayed to the bone in a matter of seconds, and miasma began to leak out of the locker that was now only slightly soiled. And that miasma was instantly absorbed into Yuzu, whose belly was empty at the time. Yuzu, who unintentionally picked it up, felt sorry for the owner, and went home with a sour face. Early the next morning, Yuzu came to the locker rooms with an item for her apology, and put her hands on the locker, gently murmuring, "Open," and as the students started school, a disturbance began with a smell. However, it wouldn't be right to call it a terrible smell. While Matsuri was hiding her grin behind a look of fright, she and the teachers were gathered in front of the locker, and the teachers were talking to one another. "Sakurasa-san, can I open your locker?" "Yes." And, upon seeing the thing that was in the locker, everyone was stunned. There, a T-bone steak that was still steaming hot was scattering a wonderfully fragrant smell on an iron skillet. "Sakurasa-san, it's not okay to put such things in your locker." WHTH. Harassment. Why would anyone harass anyone else by putting a steak in a locker? The boys had their appetites stimulated by the smell of the steak, and the girls were disgusted at having the smell of grilled meat on their clothes, but they both nodded at the teacher's words. "Now, come to the staff room." "No, I'm the victim." "Your locker can only be opened by either you or a teacher, so come quickly." And so, just like that, transfer student Matsuri Sakurasa received a strict reprimand within her first week, and her parents called while her teachers monitored her during the semester. Also, due to the requests of some of the students, a yakiniku set meal was added to the cafeteria the following week. Chapter 5, The Lovely Daily Life of an Elementary School Girl Part 1. Me and Onzida-kun had tired ourselves out, so we decided to get ramen together. Ramen is high in calories, after all. And since I became me, my body won't grow any direction than up. However, even demons shouldn't be reckless. Since I started to use magical power recently, I've been getting tired more easily. Oh, Dad-chan gave me the default when I asked for ramen. It seems like there is a delicate line not to cross when ordering. Normally that wouldn't happen by just ordering ramen casually like that. Dad-chan's ramen carries a rich, rustic flavor, and the broth shines golden all the way to the bottom. I also enjoy the noodles our company makes for here. Recently, the chicken used for the stock has come from the higher-ranked items from Nukino Ham, so I'll order this soup for life. Well, the bowl is also child-sized still. What are you talking about, Yuzu? I like the soup, but the roasted pork ramen is unbeatable. It's just a bit oily for me. Dad-chan's pork cutlets are prepared a bit differently than usual. It seems he didn't like the cutlets from Nukino Ham, so he talked with people in product development and made a fattier option. It's actually close to simmered pork. When it's heated with soup, the fat seems to drip off and add more richness. Onzida-kun liked to ask for a lot of noodles along with the special sauce and rice. Did he say something? Onzida-kun, did you just say we should come again? Because dinner is always so late. I always feel really hungry by this time. Oh well. If I gain weight I'll force him on a diet too. Today we came to the shopping district by foot rather than driving. To explain, Onzida-kun hates the feeling of the chairs in my car, saying I can't feel calm, so he refused to ride and we came this way instead. I'm also a fourth grader now, and my parents aren't as worried since I haven't been attacked or kidnapped lately. Also, Koto-chan has seen to it that Onzida-kun protects me. She seems to like it and approved me to go out as long as I'm with him. For some reason, Koto-chan would have a strangely warm smile on her face whenever I talked about Onzuda-kun. She truly is mysterious, having such an interest in a male junior high student. Recently, for some reason everything has been quiet around here. For example, whenever people see a male junior high schooler and a female elementary schooler wearing the Dacomen school uniform walking side by side, it's really conspicuous. I don't know how we look from the outside, but since he and I don't look alike, we probably don't look like brother and sister. During our walk, two laughing male high schoolers saw us and approached while swaying slightly to and fro. Why are they shaking? Are they possessed? Even if they pick a fight, Onzuda-kun's ready to protect me, which I thought would drive them away, but as they approached they became stranger and their eyes changed color. Intimidating them didn't work. They had a strange presence. They're really single-minded. What is with them? Even though Onzuda-kun was anxious, he naturally took a half step in front of me. Sorry, Onzuda-kun, let's get out of here. Why yeah. I took Onzuda-kun's arm and moved forward calmly. Everything will be alright. We passed to their side where their eyes were unfocused, but the next moment they raised their fists to attack from behind. I turned around and they froze as they looked at my crimson eyes. At the sign that showed me as a demon, the annoying presence that had possessed them dissipated. At the same time, something like experience points came out of their soul and were scattered and reformed into something that looked like a child, which looked at us peacefully. I don't know whether or not to hit the child, but I don't really care, so I just want to move on. Because this all happened before a real fight started, nothing is reacting around us. Really? What's with all this, Dad-chan? I'm here for Raymond. I've said this before, Yuzu-chan. You know that I'm not Misa's father, right? Yuzu-chan. Misa was helping a little around the shop, so she came over and gave me a hug. Misa's gotten quite strong recently from helping in the shop, but I think I'd still win if I used the powers form being a demon. The shop seems to be trending recently, so even though it's early I can see some customers. Since I'm one of the more often seen children wandering around, me and Misa got smiles from the store owners. Last year, Dad-chan was adopted by Ino-san, the ramen store owner, and officially handed over the store this spring, so Dad-chan became the shopkeeper here. Also, since Ino-san was quite the grandpa, he's retiring out to the country and doing matagi. What is matagi? I see you brought Onzuda-kun today. What will he be having? The usual, please. Got it, pork noodles and pork mesh, coming up. As expected from Dad-chan. I wonder what else I should eat, for someone like me who doesn't taste food properly. Dad-chan's ramen that he puts his soul into is really a treat. Order up, seaweed ramen for Yuzu-chan. The ramen was put in front of me before I ordered. Dad-chan, I haven't ordered, right? It's fine. Since Yuzu-chan came during the day, the shopping center is doing well enough that I couldn't possibly take money from Misa's friends. No, not that. When did he decide I wanted seaweed ramen? I guess you only get to decide what you're eating when you pay. Well, I'll eat it. Looking to my side, Onzuda-kun was slurping down his ramen with a rich bowl of rice. Do I have meat like that? This is why I said that whenever Yuzu comes, the service is really good. Onzuda-kun noticed my look and said as such with a straight face. Well, even though there are other customers, surely we didn't get all the service, right? Thinking of that, I saw Misa just now taking orders from the other customers. Impossible. Is this why everyone scowls at us when we come in, huh? What's up, Yuzu? Nothing. It looks like I have a message on my phone. While eating my ramen, the seaweed told me that a message was coming to my cell phone before it sunk into the broth and drowned. Hot ramen is really not an environment you can live in. First, before checking my messages, I finished up my noodles before they got stretched. It seems that a few emails came from this morning. I had completely forgotten to check it fully. When I looked at the sender, it was all from Yuki-kun. I forgot that yesterday night was the information exchange. I see, so that was the reason Yuki-kun was staring at me this morning. Yuki-san is so serious. He might have been waiting all the way until morning. For the time being, I typed, "Ramen time," and sent it with a picture of my ramen before I drank up the rest of my soup. Tumu. It seemed somewhat cold. After I finished the soup, I felt a killing intent like a frosty blizzard. Since the other guests were still calm, I knew that the murderous feeling was only directed at me. It was to the extent that Onzida-kun only barely looked around out of curiosity. Due to its strength and control, it seems like this enemy is quite powerful. Such a thing. It's the level where I have to protect everyone. Gara, Dad-chan, get this kid some ramen. Don't call me Dad-chan all the time. Who is that kid? Misa ran over and took the hand of the boy who entered the shop. No, I'm here. You were outside the shop. My Nichan's ramen is delicious. The boy gripped something and mumbled something. I could see his killing intent rising, as he stared at me again. Yuki-kun, you really should eat this because it's delicious, right? After that, Yuki-kun went home bringing 2 noodle dishes with him while glaring at me. Apparently he wasn't interested in the food from this world, but was touched by the taste of ramen he tried here. Is he your friend, Yuzu? Yeah. He's a classmate. Since Koto-chan was a first-year university student now, she came to pick me up. Whether she came just to pick me up or to see Dad-chan, I'm not quite sure. Koto has become quite beautiful since becoming a college student. Dad-chan also clearly felt like she'd grown up, so every time Koto-chan comes, he seems a little softer. Spring may have passed, but spring is on its way. I got a hateful email from Yuki-kun. He might seriously fight me if I miss tonight again. I feel sort of tired now. Yuzu. Do you know him well? Yeah. What about Yuki-kun? It's been quiet since Yuki-kun came, so Onzida-kun spoke to me while raising an eyebrow. I see. I feel like that wasn't the first time I met them. Is that so? I wonder what Yuki-kun did. Anyways, Yuzu, please be careful. I can't protect you all the time. Why yeah. Onzida-kun? What happened? Yuzu. Your face is becoming red. Koto-chan, who was watching my and Onzida-kun's conversation, suddenly looked serious and put a hand on my forehead. There might be a slight fever. Yeah? I can't tell. I feel a little heavy. This body is still so weak. It seems like even demons can catch a cold. Tonight has become troublesome for real. Chapter 6, The Lovely Daily Life of an Elementary Schooler Part 2. Born in the underground tunnels of Tokyo, was a presence that embodied the ambition of power. Politicians of the country who had discovered the presence had, with the help of the religious organization, Oyama, built a shrine to surround it in the underground tunnels, and through the Maiko, channeled that power for many years for their use. That presence, that had been sleeping all this time, suddenly awoke a few years ago. That thing was like a fearful child. It didn't know what there was to fear, but even though it was said to have awakened, it still couldn't communicate with anyone but their shrine maiden, and the shrine maiden had been gnawed at by bearing the burden of the spirit. The third shrine maiden has collapsed. In a room reminiscent of the European-style buildings of the Cho period, 1912 to 1926, an old man dressed in a huari hakama in subdued hues spoke in a tired voice to another old man wearing a tailored suit. Again, only 4 years have passed since it awoke. No wonder. Even if you say it can talk, the other party isn't a human. Children who can accept the massive amounts of information that aren't even words aren't common. What's the status of that shrine maiden? She's alive. But, given that she's mentally unstable now, she's unusable. Really? 3 of the 5 shrine maidens had collapsed, with only 2 of them remaining. When the second person collapsed, they confirmed that there was an orphan with the qualities to be a shrine maiden, but amongst the children of the branch families, there wasn't anyone suitable left. The 5 shrine maidens were all between 5 and 13, and the ones that remained were 13 and 11 years old. Because of their age, the 2 of them were mentally stronger, and were able to tolerate it. But, the moment they became adults, they would lose their aptitude of being a shrine maiden. That existence only accepted children, and rejected those that had become adults. Why did you wake up? No. What was so terrifying that you woke up? Perhaps, it would be the evil that will appear in the country after 10 years, and we, in the future, would borrow the power of that existence, and use it to seal their evil. like we did in the past. Why are you still so afraid if you've sealed it? I don't know. The future time it would be released is now. It's frightened because of it. Well, is that not dangerous? Be assured the technique, 12-period hourglass, isn't something so weak. We will risk our lives to protect this country. The two old men, who headed the political and religious institutions of the country, quietly nodded with the determination to fight, to protect the future of the people living in the country. Good evening, Yuki-kun. It seems that you've come today. Apparently, he's in an unusual humor. I made the excuse that I had a cold. I was pretending to have shut myself in my room, and took a leisurely journey to Yuki-kun's meeting point. My power as a demon was usable, but since my body was that of a weak human, me using too much demonic magic power might be the reason I'm not feeling so well. Maybe, in a word, it's like muscle pain, but since I'm actually quite tired, let's end this quickly. Here. What's that? Looking at the fancy wrapped present I handed him, Yuki-kun made a strange face. I guess it was about time that your younger brother or sister has been born. I don't know which one it is, but since it's a baby I think a stuffed toy is appropriate, right? Has it not been born yet? Oh dear, it seems I've made a false start. Is it okay that he accepts this now? No, she's been born. It's a sister. Subaru, congratulations. What? Were you just being embarrassed? But actually, it's a complex feeling. Yuki-kun wanted to learn the magic of opening a dimensional door from me so that he could return to the world of his previous life. I didn't hear his circumstances, but I could feel the anger and hatred at the heart of his words. There was something very forlorn. Maybe, he had been murdered. He wanted to get back to his world and exact his revenge. I think that's the case. But since he was taking his time to gain power and grow, he had a number of lingering affections for this world and his heart began to shake. They're quite terrible, humans. Sorry. Thanks, Yuzu. Please do continue teaching me. Yes, they sure aren't upfront about their feelings. Humans, as I mentioned before, this is an application of summoning magic. If you want to open a door that leads to a different world, you will need to know its coordinates, and have the enormous magic power needed to summon creatures from that other world. I know that. Even in my world, summoning from another world was a national project. But it seems that in Yuzu's world, magic formations had been developed considerably. Yuki-kun muttered as he struggled to practice the three-dimensional stacked magic formation that could effectively produce a summoning gate within a small area. In Yuki-kun's home world in Tess, it seems that it was common for them to draw on paper or carve them onto the floor. Well, that's the normal way. Normally one wouldn't think of drawing magic power directly on the air. Did you remember something, Yuzu? No, not at all. I don't see that black cat around too often these days. Yuki-kun seems to be paying a lot of attention to me, and worries about me every now and then, especially when his heart wavers. Does Yuki-kun hate this world? I despise it. It was because of humanity's arrogance that our magic power is this low. Because of them, the spirits sleep, and I was born as a helpless human being. So there are no other demons. In Yuki-kun's tale, it seems like spirits exist to manage souls. Due to the spirits being asleep, it turned out souls that didn't have enough experience points to be human and should have been born animals were born human. And because there were no demons, there were no existences to eat sinful humans. That's why there was a vicious cycle that would cause humans to keep increasing in number. But even then there are good people, you know? Oh yeah. The transmigration of souls is absurd. Good and bad people are born properly. On the contrary, souls with egos that were too strong would be flicked to another world. Well, then, it's a good thing that people like Dad-chan and Maisu are here then. The ramen was good, no? When I smiled sweetly at that, Yuki-kun stopped practicing the layered magic formation, and made a face like he'd bit on a particularly bitter bug. It's about time for me to show the results of my practice. Because Yuzu neglected her meeting yesterday, I absolutely have to return the favor. Hey, Yuki-kun, who had gradually begun to release his magic power, had a slight smile on his mouth. The results of his practice. Would it be better if I were to show it? I also released magic powers up to the point that it didn't burden my body. Previously, since there was little magic power in this world, I felt like saying that I could do it easily. But since Yuki-kun invited me to watch, it can't be helped. You won't die, right? I said that. Yuki-kun opened a hole and space in his hand, and from the space within took out his sword. It wasn't inside his pants. Teach me that too. When I win. Is that a promise? Become ashes? Question mark. When Yuki-kun instantly avoided it like flying, the scrap metal behind him immediately burnt to ashes. As expected, it's probably better to use spirit language. When I ordered things, it was difficult to remember what it should have acted on, but if I only used the result and imagined it and put magic power into my words, the effects would appear. It seems that it's okay to make some noise in this abandoned factory. I felt killing intent. You avoided it, you knave, you mad archmage. Yuki-kun drew a small magic formation in the air, and I smashed it with a big sword enveloped in the light of the holy attribute. Wow! Sword of Brilliance. The sacred light that stretched a few meters out from the sword swung down, and collided with my magic barriers, getting annihilated while releasing violent sparks. Suddenly serious. I guess it works well against evil sorcerers. I was a demon, so it was getting to be too much and I was taking damage. Sword of Brilliance. Hauchunabiu. Shut up. And so, the serious training where the partner wasn't to die started. Why did it happen? Well, it's alright. I don't really worry about it, since I didn't really seriously go at it. After about an hour, as I thought that we were making too much commotion, Yuki-kun suddenly dropped his sword. Wait, Yuzu. Someone's approaching. It seems that we've made too much of an uproar and someone came to check. I didn't understand it well, but it seems that Yuki-kun detected their presence somewhere. How convenient. Shall we withdraw then? Yep. Hold on a minute, it's fast. Is that not normal human? Stopping our retreat for a moment, we waited, and the person vaulted over the wall of the disused factory and appeared immediately. Onzada-kun? Yuzu. Onzada-kun, who appeared while sweating and breathing heavily, had a surprised look on his face as he saw me, and grimaced when he saw Yuki-kun next to me. Why is Onzada-kun here? That's my line. What are you doing when your body is so weak? Good grief. I was doing exorcisms and came here since there was a commotion. That contract chain connecting Onzada-kun to my hand was shining black. I see, the fighting was getting pretty serious. So he was called over to protect me. Also, Yuzu, why are you with him? And that sword? You're the Black Mask from that time. Yuki-kun did not answer, and only slowly tried to grip his sword. It's scary as is. Come to mention it. A black mask? He might seriously have Chunabiu. Yuki-kun was teaching me magic. Onzada-kun and Yuki-kun both looked at me with stunned looks. Onzada-kun's face had an expression like, what are you saying? While Yuki-kun had a look that was questioning me for lying to him and was thinking over why I was trying to deceive him. Because it's troublesome. So, that was as a consequence of our persuasions and explanations. Onzada-kun was convinced in the end. The explanation was that I had decided to learn magic from Yuki-kun, who was born with a mysterious power, in order to eliminate the weakness of my body, and I lied about my previous life. He finally believed us when we showed him magic. I understand the reason now. So, teach me magic as well. Yuki-kun had a shocked voice at Onzada-kun, who had suddenly spouted this thing. Why do I have to teach you? Because you don't want anyone else to know what you're doing in the middle of the night? I promised to protect Yuzu. Are you going to protect Yuzu? Well, Yuki-kun unexpectedly diverted his eyes away from Onzada-kun's serious gaze. It is necessary for me to become stronger to protect Yuzu. If you teach me, I will also teach you to use ki. All right. Yuki-kun also seems to be interested in Onzada-kun's methods. Onzada-kun smiled when he heard the answer. Thanks. But I won't forgive you for killing off the wandering spirits. Why did you do such a thing? If I defeat it, I could absorb some of its power. It's nice, I guess, to have such things. What's that? Game experience points. That spirit severing sword. Teach me that. You can't do it. What's the matter? You're stingy. I'm not stingy. To absorb the power of the opponents you defeat. Is that their hero's secret art? I'll find out eventually. Somehow, though, I was left alone and the two of them seemed to get along. That's good, I guess. Rotten God. Please go home. There's nothing for you. Chapter 7, I Became a Fifth Grader Part 1, Junikoko Hourglass? TLN, Junikoko, 12, 2-hour periods, related to the zodiac. Onzida heard those words after he had been summoned by his brothers. Even though he was still young, since he'd trained seriously ever since he had been an elementary schooler, his abilities had nearly reached that of his older brothers, and was considered to be an adult, and so he would be taught the secrets accordingly. That's right. Originally, you should have heard this from honored father, but I told you a while ago. So, because of that I was told to take responsibility for this. This will be quite a serious talk. So are you ready for it? Oh. Yes, that's good. His older brother smiled gently upon seeing Onzida become nervous in the midst of his reply. Bracing himself at once, he quietly spoke of it all in the main hall that was only lit by candlelight. Onzida, I've told you about the great evil that will appear 10 years from now. Yes. To be precise, there was a prophecy about the spring 17 years from now, and at that time, we had already successfully deployed the technique we used. Its name was there, Junikoko Hourglass. What kind of technique it is to have such a name, the true meaning of the technique is not yet known to us as well. However, there was once a large-scale operation that made use of hundreds of practitioners, even us, to seal off that evil, over the course of half a year. Half a year? That's right, half a year. In that time, the monks and practitioners who were affiliated with Oyama exerted their powers continually day and night, taking shifts, and even when they were taking breaks off shift they would serve as guards to protect the ritual. It was quite a bit of hard work. What happened to that evil that was sent into the past? We don't know. Sent into the past. I think that the evil is present now, but father and the other monks have not yet been able to ascertain if it is asleep or not. It should have been considerably weakened. Is it not possible to find and defeat it? It seems that if we defeat it, the burden on the future would be lessened, but it's more important that we not wake it over defeating it. If we can wake up that evil in its weakened state on purpose, then we can kill it. If they did not awaken that evil, it seems like they would be able to completely seal it or destroy it in the past. His older brother didn't know anything more, and stopped speaking then, but something stuck in Onzida's heart. Why is that evil presence just called evil? In his brother's words, it was that there was a prophecy that it would bring darkness to the hearts of the people of this world, and return the weight to its chaotic state as it was in ancient times. But, to say that, we must destroy it for it is evil. Onzida felt a little discomfort. The evil being had yet to do a single thing. Then, Onzida thought to himself, why couldn't they just do the same things as they did to cast away all lingering spirits to this, but insist on destroying it? That is, he was learning magic from that young boy Yuki whom he'd recently gotten to know alongside Yuzu. Although the magic had seemed fake to him at first, somehow, he managed to understand the concept of magic power. The two of them said that magic was an ancient power of this world. Because magic power had disappeared from this world, science developed and humans were able to expand their influence. Then, is this ancient magic power an evil to the world? Well, I don't know either. Yuzu, are you going to the party that's coming up soon? Where is it? One day, when I'd been called to father's study, he suddenly told me this. What kind of party was that? The anniversary of our company was still a ways away. So what's the occasion? Where? It's the 70th anniversary party of Nakinoham. Didn't I tell you, Yuzu? Nope. I shook my head a lot at father's words. I see. I thought that you'd surely have heard it from handsome-kun. Which he's very fit, and turned out quite a bright boy. Even though his father the director of Nakinoham used to say that his son had a strange fear of ghosts and was worried all the time. Oh, I see. There was certainly that feeling before. It was some sort of evil spirit or something, and if he still felt that way now I was going to introduce him to Onzida-kun's services. I'll email him later. Yuzu also had something of a physical condition that last time, but now that you've stabilized for quite a bit, will you be attending? No. It's not decreased or stabilized at all, but it's been peacefully resolved. But since I've never gone out of his household, what if I don't know how to perform formal greetings? Since father will be going with you, just greet the people how I greet and it'll be fine. Yuzu's also become a 5th grader. And sometimes people have asked me, oh, where's your youngest daughter? If you're not feeling well then it's okay, but otherwise I'd be quite happy if you would come. Oh, as expected. It's impossible to play hooky for this. It seems like I'm going to be drawn into the trouble. Also, like father said, I've just entered the 5th grade in elementary school. This body of mine has grown quite a bit. No? As to how much larger I've gotten. Well, Oba-Ana-chan tried to hug and lift me for the first time in a while, and started to strain his back. How rude. I am very light. However much I eat ramen, my stomach hardly changes, and I hardly eat any other meals, comparing it to Koton-chan who has to swim laps to lose weight thanks to overeating ramen. That. In an instant, I felt a chill. Oh yeah, there were things like that too. Now that we're talking about ramen. One day, when I entered Dad-chan's ramen shop, I had a slight feeling that something was very wrong. To express it clearly, I thought that it was like the heavy soul of that corrupt business family that I ate, and not anything like the sweet taste of a wicked lady. That's the kind of feeling. Welcome. My eyes wandered towards the kitchen as I gazed upon him silently. You should greet customers more energetically. Welcome. At he who spoke out with a more or less desperate voice, I could only gaze at him scornfully. What are you doing, Yuki-kun? In the kitchen, Yuki-kun was washing the dishes while wearing a loose cook's uniform. While I was standing at the entrance, Misa noticed me and came closer. Yuzu-chan, welcome. Hey, Misa. What's that? Ah, this. Yuki-kun loves ramen, so he brought me souvenirs from all over the country. It's amazing. Chira. So after talking to Mayana-chan properly, he decided to help out with the shop. Chira. It's because Misa said that I'd never eaten the ramen of the province. As my twinkling eyes looked at him, Yuki-kun began to confess. I see. It's Misa. It's a good thing you get along well with her. Given that Dad-chan didn't say anything, does he approve of this too? Then I'll be the one instead. My daughter is not easy. Young gun. What are you talking about suddenly? Well, that was that. Isn't it nice that you're having some lingering affection? Well, it can't be helped since Misa is so cute. As per usual, she's like a Kokushi doll. As to why he might be attracted to an elementary school girl, despite having the memory of his past life, it was because his feelings were considerably influenced by his actual age. Does this mean that Yuzu will not be attending? Yes. Oops, I didn't hear anything that was being said in between. Well, it's alright. It just means that people will say that I couldn't attend the party because I was sick. Don't worry so much about it. Both Oba and Koton will be attending. Oba-Ana-chan is going to be the heir, right? At first, he'll be going to Nakinoham to intern and learn, as one of the rank and file. That's nice. If you let him start off as a company manager, he'd become a failure, right? Yuzu sure is strict with Oba. The employees of the future are important too. In the case of Koton and Nichan, there's going to be a lot of suitors. Koton surely will. For how pretty she is. She'll be nearly 20, but she still hasn't brought home her boyfriend. Don't worry so much about the youngsters. Did Yuzu pick all these up from father saying them? Read. The speaker's father, i.e. grandpa. What? Did father say those two? Anyway, because Koton-chan's significant other is Dad-chan, he can't be brought home to the family easily. And so, I ended up agreeing to attend Nakinoham's party. I wish I wouldn't run into any problems. Chapter 8, I became a 5th grader Part 2. How cute, Yuzu, it suits you well. As I was attending a party for the first time, Koton-chan coordinated with me most enthusiastically. Wearing dark colors so as to not be gaudy, it was a knee-length one-piece that had fluffy hems, with an American-style sleeve that exposed both shoulders while covering the nape, with many beige-colored areas. The back was also slightly visible. Since I'm an elementary schooler, I thought that a more childish dress would have been better. But it seems that the mood isn't one for a child. So, is it good? Oh, of course. A stammer. Even so, I was surprised that I didn't feel much resistance towards baring my shoulders, and felt a sense of incompatibility about the knee length. I got a feeling that the hem was longer than was supposed to be on the dress. But why is that? It's Yuzu's first time wearing a proper dress, right? Yes, that's correct. You seem strangely accustomed to it. Or perhaps I should say, you wear a dress like it's a normal piece of clothing for you. Now that I mention it, I wonder if I was able to wear this dress normally because of those fragmented memories of that castle. And now, today is the 70th anniversary of Nakinoham. It's a big party where affiliate companies like ours, celebrities and local politicians are all attending. For the children like us, to put it bluntly, the reason for these is for us scions to meet face to face and make our choices of marriage partners. I'm worried for Koton-chan. I went out early with my family and had my makeup lightly done by my usual hairstylist, and having done up my hair in a half-up, I affixed a flower hair ornament carved out of a seashell that I'd gotten from my mother. Is it necessary for a grade schooler to have makeup? After all, the skin of a demon doesn't even have visible pores, much less acne. The makeup artist only put on foundation and blush, and seemed to be at a loss. The venue seems to be a combination of 3 banquet halls that can hold 500 people total in a luxury hotel. With that many people coming, I think that the possibility of me meeting with Kuki-kun and Kiko, who are supposed to be attending, is quite low. I told them to meet me after they were done with their greetings via email, but I guess that the two of them have an incomparable number of greetings compared to me. We came as a family, but once we were done with the greeting, Mother broke away from us. It seems that she got captured by the other wives of the company directors, and couldn't leave, and since she seemed like she wouldn't be done soon, we left. That is the hell of this world. Next, Obana-chan got captured by 2 executives from Nakinoham. Because it's someone that would be looking after him in his department when he takes the job, it seems that his conversation wouldn't end anytime soon. And then, that's right, Yuzu, there's a cake smorgasbord over at the other side. I'll go get something. Koton-chan, her back walking away. That was the last I saw of Koton this day. Also, her enthusiasm for swimming will definitely intensify tomorrow. Father is on the other side. Excuse me, President Tukaki. There's a matter that I would like to discuss with the Nakino Company. I would like to ask of you. As father was called out by the secretary of the president of Nakinoham and walked off, I felt that it was going to be bothersome, so I took a break out on the sofa out in the hallway. As I emailed Kiko, I noticed something approaching. Mob character, you are here. Cough. There, a cute girl wearing a pink princess dress with a twin tail set in drills pointed at me with an imposing stance. It's Matsuri. As always, the only thing cute about her is her face. Her dress taste is on the level of a Showa-era idol. For once, you look like a lady. Pupu, what is with that low-born dress? Well, you're a mob character after all, so it's normal to be shoddy. Why are you here, Matsuri? Are you stupid? There is no party where the heroine's event doesn't happen. Papa was invited, so I came as his daughter. Papa is fortunate to have such a lovely girl as me. Is Kiko going to take much longer? I received an email from Kiko, replying that she was done, but Papa didn't want to take me along at first, as expected of a mob character parent. So I kept bothering my dad. Mob character. If you're supposed to be part of my entourage, you should have some great ideas for harassment. No? I think it'll be good to go get your hands on some chicken bones. Why would you try to harass people with chicken bones? Really, you're useless. Was it wrong? Which reminds me, since Dad-chan had been done a good turn by them, Perhaps I should go and make my greetings to the president of Nikinaham. Should I mail Uji-kun too? Mob character, Kuki-kun is supposed to have come here. Did you see him? And Tilda? I haven't seen him. Previously, I had bumped into Kuki-kun at the corner outside the school, but no event occurred. I wonder if it is to be at night. After all, I knew from Papa that the grandfather of the Kyuan family had retired. But wasn't he a bad guy? Even though the event hadn't occurred, such a thing happened. I don't understand it at all, even if though I'm talking to a mob character. Ho ho. Is Coco doing something after all? Damn it. It makes me angry. She really doesn't reveal her true colors easily, that girl. Hey, you, have you figured out any of Coco's weaknesses? Recently, it seems that she hasn't been able to speak to Kuki-kun. It's clearly to be expected. How satisfying. Yep. It was their puppy love up until now, but it seems that she's finally realized her romantic feelings now that we're heading into adolescence, and she went into the cute state, and went into a tizzy when the two of them were alone. I didn't make a mistake, right? It's not a pretense, right? That's right. I thought that Coco being here would bring me good. Mob character, seize the opportunity and mix this into Coco's drink. NN? What's this? Foo. It's gonna be good. There is no need for a mob character to know. Pew. Ah, I see. Because it's a pain in the rear for now. I'm going to leave it in the drink that Matsuri brought. Since it's a good thing, there'll be no problems. And hey, mob character. About Handsome-kun. Twitch. Did you know about a woman who's been involved with the Nakino family? Apparently there's someone aiming at the seat of being his fiancé. I know no such thing. Uchi-kun sure is popular lately. It wouldn't be strange even if there was such a person. It was, Kabosu or Zabun or something, some citrus-related name. TL note, yuzu is a citrus fruit. I think even a dullard like you would be able to investigate if you know this much. What? Is that person some freezer accessory? It seems that in our school, there's another child who's named after citrus fruit other than myself. The event for Handsome-kun haven't started either. It seems that in the end, nothing starts if I do not acquire Toshikuni-kun. It's really annoying. Go search for Toshikuni-kun quickly, mob character, and remove yourself from my surroundings. When a mob character doesn't remain involved with me, their lives will end. Ha ha ha. Yuki. After saying all these funny things without consideration, Matsuri disappeared somewhere else into the hall. Just what do you want me to do? Do you really think that I am not human but some character in a story instead? Ha ha. Surely, there's no idiot that dumb, right? While I was playing with my phone on the sofa as I was, 2 emails had come in. One of them was from father, and the other was from Uji-kun. Both of the mails had roughly the same content, and it seems that both his parents and mine wanted me to go over. And it seems that Uji-kun was going to come pick me up. This is about Prince Kun's engagement. Chapter 9, I Became a 5th Grader Part 3. Yuzu-chan, so cute. After waiting a while, a boy emerged from the crowd, gleefully calling out my name as he found me, a relieved expression on his face. Uchi-kun, sorry for making you come and fetch me. No, it was good to see Yuzu-chan. Your dress suits you. I was surprised by how beautiful it is. Thank you. Kuki-kun was like that too, but really? Uchi-kun could say things like that so lightly. No, it wasn't lightly said at all. I was embarrassed, and it seemed that Uchi-kun was incredibly embarrassed at his own words too. Well, let's go. Yes, okay. As he put out his hand in the same way that he did back in kindergarten, I took his hand like normal. Come to think of it, we'd stopped holding each other's hands since the 2nd grade in elementary school. Why did that happen? Was it that as he slimmed down, he didn't feel the need to hold my hand? What's the matter? Nothing. Is that? Did you mature as a man? I thought that I could see the shadowy profile of Uchi-kun as an adult. That's right. Yuzu-chan, I will be changing my name officially. Really? Yuzu-chan has always called me Uji. No? Recently, my family has started calling me that too, and since I'm called that even in school, the court accepted that it was in common use. That's good. Should I be saying that? It's alright, thank you. Somehow, I subtly feel that being called Prince is not really okay, though. It seems that it's a load on his shoulders. With this, I'm going to have more trauma and stomach pain, too. After that, we walked in silence. Yuzu-chan, thank you. NNN. On our way toward Uchi-kun's parents, Uchi-kun suddenly murmured such in a mostly empty corridor. Is this some continuation of what he was saying previously? Hey, you remember Onzada-san who I introduced to you who's in middle school? Onzada-kun. Was that person helpful to you? Yeah. He taught me a lot. I was also able to be at ease. Thanks to Onzada-san, or I would have been worried about Yuzu-chan. Is that so? Onzada-kun pledged that he would protect me from quite a while back, though, thanks to that, I seem to have made a very weird contract. Yuzu-chan seems to be quite close to Onzada-san. I wonder about that, though. It's certainly true that it's easy to talk to him. I spoke with Onzada-san and received a bit of a shock. That's different, though. What are you talking about? Yuzu-chan. Uchi-kun stopped at the corner of the corridor where there was no one and looked me in the eyes. I like you, Yuzu-chan. But, as a childhood friend that I've known forever, I also feel like your family. I was so happy to hear of the engagement. I thought that I could stay with Yuzu, my favorite, forever. But I don't dislike it, you know? I know. Yuzu-chan thought of me as family too. No, but I feel that Yuzu-chan would be better if she could stay with someone who needed her. Uchi-kun. Am I no longer necessary? I need you. But it's not just me, but other people need Yuzu-chan too. From what I heard from my father, I think he wants to introduce you to everyone as my fiancé today. I'll go speak to further about this. And is it alright for us to associate until we reach middle school? To associate with you. An engagement? Yes, so, although I thought that I was incompatible, I wanted to prevent some strange person from coming on to Yuzu with the rumors of the engagement for a while. Of course, I wished for Yuzu-chan to fall in love with me during that time. There was that desire too. As he spoke, Uchi-kun laughed ruefully. And I don't know what kind of face I should be making. Uchi-kun. He was seriously watching out for me. Wasn't he? Well then, should I become a pest repellent for Uchi-kun? That's right. But even if you weren't here to repel pests, I won't let myself be caught up with that funny transfer student, so feel relieved. Yup. I will quit being your friend if that happens. It seems that Kuki-kun is being aimed for more than I am, though. Shiji Yuen-san is also in for it. Certainly. I replied to Uchi-kun and we exchanged gentle smiles. Is it okay for me to be shaking? Well, it can't be helped. I think that I only ever saw Uchi-kun as a younger brother. If I were older, my feelings might change, but then it would be rude to Uchi-kun. But for Uchi-kun to be this determined, what kind of conversation did he have with Onzada-kun? My body itches. What is this? This ain't a rash. Good grief. Is it because of this cheesy dress after all? Well, Papa's only good for his money. But even so, if I want to have a dress custom made, that's a no. Really? I can't even make use of him. Matsuri prowled the venue alone, looking for Kuki and Handsome. If it was in the original timeline, this event shouldn't have happened while they were in elementary school, but Matsuri had talked to Kuki and Handsome many times, trying to raise her favor points with them. Kuko still hadn't done anything to Matsuri, so she wasn't able to raise the conviction event, but Matsuri was hoping internally that the engagement event with Handsome would happen. Kuko, you knave, I managed to avoid all your pitiful traps. So why didn't it advance? That stake was surely Kuko's work. The teachers must surely have noticed. Matsuri had surrounded herself with mob character girls who were timid for the past few years, and hence obtained some influence in her year. Even though she flirted with the male teachers, it was only to the extent of getting noticed by them, and she was sure that this was due to Kuko. Given that I'm so cute, there's no way in the world that there could be a man that wouldn't fall in love with me. Matsuri chewed her nails as she thought of the event progression that wasn't going well. Ouch. What the heck? It seems that Matsuri had accidentally bumped into someone else while thinking. Even though there was no sense of pain at all, looking down instinctively and stepping back, she saw a ball-like girl that had fallen on her butt, looking up at Matsuri. Was she in the junior classes? The girl stood up, and beating the dust off of her dress with a pompon, she bowed her head to Matsuri. "Ani-chan, I'm sorry for bumping into you." It was Matsuri who had bumped into her. But just from the things that she wore, Matsuri could tell that she had been brought up well. "Hey, you." "Yes?" Matsuri, who was in a poor mood after seeing a girl wearing a first-class tailored dress that was nicer than her own, pinched her cheeks. "Oi, Ara? Oh, so your cheeks hurt if I pinch them?" "Ow, it hurts." When the girl raised her voice and began to weep, Matsuri clicked her tongue lightly at all of the bystanders' gazes. "Ara." She fell down and hurt herself. So she said, glancing at the boys nearby coquettishly, before instantly fleeing the scene. What? To that extent, I want to cry for the events that aren't advancing. Still, it would have been terrible had either Kuki or Handsome seen it. Matsuri moved about the place, and when she peeped quietly from the shadow of the table where the dishes were placed, her eyes went wide at the people there. Kuki-kun and Kuko. The two of them looked like the perfect couple with their formal wear on. They didn't look at all like grade schoolers. The two of them comforted that little girl, with Kuko on her knees gently stroking the hair of the girl with a gentle face, even as the girl cried, and with Kuki calmly fussing about Kuko. The voices of the surrounding adults reached Matsuri's dumbfounded ears. That's the young scion of the Kwon house. And that pretty young lady next to him is. That's the daughter of the Shiji Yuin house. They grow up so fast. They're fiancés. No. Well, for such a beautiful couple, they're certainly like eye candy. A distinguished young man, and an honorable maiden in love. They're not just beautiful, but also kind to the children. After the retirement of Lord Kwon, the current household head has been hard at work restoring the family's power, but it seems that the house is in safe hands. While she listened to the adults' gossip, Matsuri ground her molars together at the appearance of the two of them in good spirits. What was going on? How did this happen? How did the relationship between the two of them develop this far? I am the heroine of this world. But then, it felt like she had her feelings played by some monster that she couldn't touch. No. Still, there's the event in junior high school. There's still Handsome-kun. At that time, Matsuri heard a noise from the corner of the hall even as she walked while muttering her grievances under her breath. Did something happen? Oh, it seems that the scion of Nakino has his fiancée standing with him. I saw her. It was a pretty child. Did she reveal herself for the 70th anniversary? It gives a sense of security for the next generation. Matsuri panicked at the rumors that she heard and turned to look at the commotion. The fiancé event should still have been far away. Even if the event came early, Matsuri was supposed to be chosen as the fiancé, and such a thing couldn't be happening. As Matsuri looked towards the center of the commotion from the gaps between the adults, she saw that between the president and his wife and Handsome, there was a girl holding his hand. Mob girl. That girl, who Matsuri had watched when she came to Dakumin school, was a child who had an adult-like appearance, who looked very beautiful despite being a dullard, and because she didn't ever act against Matsuri, she had been one of the mob characters that Matsuri intended to use as her crony to capture her targets. What's that girl's name? Matsuri asked as she clung on to a man next to her. The man, thinking that she was the daughter of someone involved, grimaced at Matsuri's attitude, but answered her. She is the daughter of Director Tukaki, Yuzu. Wasn't it? Yuzu. Although she didn't appear in the game, Matsuri remembered that in the setting materials for Nakino Handsome, that was the name of his first love. Zu. Was Yuzu lying to Matsuri all this while? But from her foolish attitude with regard to Matsuri, it seemed more likely that Kuko was behind it instead of her, and she thought that Kuko had gotten them together to get in Matsuri's way. However, she wasn't intending to forgive Yuzu either. I won't forgive you. Both of you. Matsuri ran out of the hotel venue and walked through the city at night. In her chest, she embraced the boiling anger and hatred that was like a smelter furnace burning within her. Even if she had the memories of her previous life, it was no good for a fifth-grade girl, who was powerless, to walk alone, towards the pretty-looking Matsuri. A malicious adult crept closer. Yes, that's right. Ahahahaha. Matsuri, who recalled a certain sentence in the setting, laughed out suddenly. The biggest reason for Handsome to believe that he was cursed was because his childhood first love had fallen sick when he had entered junior high. Yes, Yuzu should get sick as soon as possible. In fact, even sooner. He. Oh, oi, Oju-chan. Shut up. Matsuri, who had been interrupted, hit the neck of the man who had been behind her, and he crumpled down, staggering to the floor as he stopped moving. Why could Matsuri do such a thing? The bones of the fingers that Matsuri had used to hit him were also broken, but Matsuri kept laughing without minding it. I'll kill you, Yuzu. Her eyes were stained with desire and madness, as if possessed by the same thing as the attackers who had tried to attack Yuzu. Chapter 10, The Malicious Presence Part 1. The 70th anniversary party of Nakinoham's founding ended without incident. Talks of my engagement with Uji-kun and I ended up on hold, and it seems that the deferment continued. It seems that Uji-kun had managed to persuade them to consider our feelings first. That cute, ball-like Minako-chan still called me Onisama. Yuzu. Onisama. What's the matter, Minako-chan? I want to become slim too. Just like Ana-chan. I smiled gently at Minako-chan, who was being so sweet, and stroked her head, even as she was hesitantly nibbling on a piece of cheese. Don't eat while walking. That's right. Come to think of it, according to Kuki-kun and Kako, there was an insolent person who had made Minako-chan cry at the party. Considering the eyewitness reports of the people who were around Minako-chan at the time, it seems that it was some upper-grade elementary school girl wearing a pink frilly princess dress who had drill-like twin tails. It seemed like she was a pretty girl but had horrible behavior. Wait, it seems like someone matches the description. That name is, and the following week, I did not see that child at all at school. Oh yeah, it was Matsuri. Of course. Now I remember. Even though she was so full of herself, I wonder why she's taking a break from school. Well, the mood felt like she was up to something, but for now it's peaceful. Although she looked tasty at first, thinking about it, she's thin and I don't really feel like it, so I wasn't really interested. I don't remember the conversations either. And so the heroine Sama disappeared, and my peaceful days began. But they didn't come. First of all, there were strange people who would wander about in the vicinity of the school. And about once or twice a month, the police and the security guards would have to take action. For those who had been possessed by something, it was too suspicious that they had wandered aimlessly around the elementary school vicinity without causing a ruckus. It got to the point that we started seeing clean-shaven men all around us. Their clothes were normal, but their body builds and eyes were markedly harder than a normal person. And also, my body condition got worse and it seems to have become serious. I thought that it was because a human body couldn't bear the magic power of a demon, but apparently it's not only that. I've been feeling a slight fever lately, and my body also feels heavy because I've been hiding it. It seems that the people surrounding me have only been able to tell that I have a weak constitution. Is this, I wonder, hadn't I originally taken ill when I'd reached middle school? This is bad. I don't know why it had onset prematurely, but I got the feeling that once it did, I couldn't be saved. It's a disease that needs a transplant, and even if one was arranged for, the survival rate was 50%. And at that time, I had no relatives who could donate to me. But for me of the now, there is a way to get better. If I could regain all my memories and return to being a full demon, it wouldn't matter if I was ill with a human disease, but doing that means that I would have to resign from being the human Yuzu, which means that I might have to separate from my family. That was what it meant. Well, that being said, it could just be a cold, so I'm not saying anything. Either way, it's no good if I don't regain my memories, And with these lingering suspicions that I would likely get into more troubles things, I entered the 6th grade. Onisama, what is the meaning of this? On the day that the new semester rolled around and Onzada became a third-year middle schooler, he was called to the main hall by his elder brother for the first time in a while. Onzada also knew that his father and elder brother had been busy since the situation changed last year. He knew that it was related to that evil. But Onzada was troubled by the one-sidedness of the view that existence was evil. A shocking fact had been delivered by his elder brother from the girl that had become a new shrine maiden. It seems that a prophecy had been issued that their evil was in the elementary school section of Dakumin School. But that's just what that person is saying. That's right. The prophecy said that it was Shiji Yuin Kuko and Tukuki Yuzu. The two of them were said to be especially suspicious. And now, in order to enhance the effect of the 12-period hourglass, in wiping out the evil, we are solidifying the town with a barrier. I know the both of them, and they can't be it. Onzada, that thing must not exist in this world. If it were to be released in its perfect state, the entirety of human history would be overwhelmed and overturned. But, what if it was a mistake? The boosted barrier technique was being centered upon the two girls. Their evil presence would be the only thing affected by the barrier if it had been applied normally. But if the city was bound by a barrier, there would be considerable adverse effects on the two of them. To save the country. No, to save this world, it can't be helped that a few must be sacrificed. And you two are a member of this demon exorcising house. Onzada was stunned at the words of his brother. No, the words of an exorcist who defended the country. This duty was also given to us as the monks of this area. If they make any suspicious movements, report it. As he said that, Onzada's brother turned his back to him. Onzada, who had been left alone in the main hall, gripped his fist so tightly that his nails bit into his palm, and spoke out under his breath. I will do it. Sakurazaki Matsuri came back at the start of the new school term. Although she had gone missing temporarily, when she returned, she had a confident look on her face, and several other newly transferred students were following her. How unusual, to have multiple transfer students join us in the final year. That's right. I was curious, so I investigated a bit, but I don't understand why at all, as expected of Kuki-kun. But, does the Kuon family not know either? Their backgrounds were investigated. They're the scions of fairly large temples. However, given that they come from as far as Kyushu and Hokkaido, I don't know why they all transferred in at the same time. Maybe it's about that person. Suddenly speaking to Uji and I, that strange woman was chattering on about some unknown private circumstances for a long time. Uji should be careful. I think Kuki-kun is rather more entangled than I am. No, it's troublesome. There are more people following her about now in school, so I don't know what's happening. You should avoid being alone with her as much as possible. Kuki-kun and Uji-kun were having their conversation inside a conference room that they'd borrowed from the school. It's been a few months since the first semester of 6th grade started, but Matsuri has not contacted me. I'm starting to get worried. We had gathered inside this room for the sake of studying, but recently, the two of them have come in here to exchange information about the goings-on within the school. Well, I'll lose if I pay it any attention, given that I need to study. So, while the boys had their conversation, Kako and I studied, listening quietly. Cough. Kako, are you alright? I'm sorry, it's just a cough. Yuzu-sama, your complexion is unwell as well. I've been like this since I was young, so I wonder if I got used to it. The two boys turned to look at us with worried faces at this. My physical condition got worse, and then after a short time, Koko's physical condition started to get worse. Her symptoms were similar to mine. In my case, I have the power of a demon and could move even if I was somewhat sick, but Koko was just a regular human being whose physical strength seemed to have waned quickly, and, recently, the amount of time that she'd spent motionless at her desk during breaks had increased. I'm sorry, but please excuse me. You shouldn't go alone. When Kuki-kun stood up at Koko's words, Koko waved her hands in a panic. I'm going to the restroom. Sorry. Shall I go with you? It's all right. With Yuzu-sama in such a bad state, I can't possibly let you go with me. Okay. At that, if I were to forcibly follow her, Koko would worry about me, so I couldn't say anything. There is only a toilet for visitors on this floor, and the toilets for students was only accessible one flight of stairs down. That's a bit far. I think I'll go too after all. Yes, Yuzu-chan. Please take care of Koko. Although it had only been 2-3 minutes since Koko had walked out, Kuki-kun bowed to me when I went out of worry. It seems to be the case that Kuki-kun and Uchi-kun were concerned about the state of the school recently. Even as I walk down the corridor like this, there are times when I feel disgusting gazes being aimed at me. Everyone else noticed it too, and it bothered them. Me? I don't really care because I love humans. To be honest, I don't care because others' malice is delicious to me. It would be different if they got involved with Coco and the rest, though. But I feel a thin presence within the school. It's that usual malicious possession fellow again. For even I, who was bad at noticing such things, to notice it. Why didn't Yuki-kun, who was very sharp, say anything? I haven't really met him since the semester started, though, and for Misa to become worried since he hadn't gone to the ramen shop recently. Just what is he doing? Please step aside, Coco. I could hear Coco's voice from the stair landing. While heading there in a hurry, Matsuri was there with several young boys in tow, surrounding Coco. Were they the transfer students? Oh my, Coco, what's wrong? You seem to be in a poor condition. I don't recall having introduced myself to you. It's troubling. The villainous miss trying to be the heroine. Villainous. Well, since you are not long for this world, just leave Kuki-kun to me. Even though you were also a reincarnator, it seems that your plans haven't gone well. My condolences. Reincarnator? What are you saying? Don't try to act innocent. What are you doing? When I called out to them in a poor mood, all of them there turned around to face me at once. I wouldn't normally have any problems, but since my humanity would disappear the moment I took a cold attitude, those interesting little rubbernecks all got out of the way as I drew near. These people too, although light, have been affected by that presence. Yuzu-sama. Coco, come over here. Coco rushed over to me as I spoke. Why are your cheeks dyed with joy? As expected. You were Yuzu. Mob girl. Matsuri seemed to glare at me as she spat out her words through gritted teeth. Sorry. I couldn't just give my name to any such suspicious person. Suspicious person, eh? It seems that you got carried away just because I treated you well for a mob character. How unrefined your words are. Shut up. This world of mine. Coco, please come over here first. I'll talk to you in a bit. Listen to what I'm saying. As per usual, a noisy child. Although Coco hesitated a little over my words but reminded of the time when I had been attacked for the first time and I'd spoken like that, she nodded deeply and returned to the meeting room. Is she calling for the boys? It would be troublesome if the two of them were to be affected by Matsuri. Wait, you stop that at once. But I haven't done anything. I am the heroine of this world. You, come here. The pretty transfer student boys who were around Matsuri approached her and kneeled in front of her. They, too, were possessed. Just how did you gather this lot? Well, even though it's Matsuri herself who seems to be possessed by the most dangerous thing, Fufafu. Look, this is my charm. That's what the mysterious voice told me. If I used my charm, the world would move my way. I became a shrine maiden of this country, and am waited upon by the important people of this country. I am different from Coco and a mob character like you. Ahahahahahaha. Look. Wow, that was extremely fluent. She wasn't just possessed by that strange thing, but rather, she was the shrine maiden of that presence. Is that why she's receiving its power? So what? When I spoke out with a cold voice, Matsuri, who was laughing idiotically, and all the children around her all had cramped faces. I'm starting to feel a little angry. I don't mind people turning their malicious intent towards me, but to turn it towards Coco. What do you want with me? As I walked forwards, gradually letting the demonic aura leak out, Matsuri backed off, startled. Well, you say such things now. Guys, let's go. Matsuri said so quickly as she took the pretty boys away. Still, it's too thin. It needs time to mature. As Matsuri left, the bystanders also scattered, and there were only a few girls left. When I tried to leave the stairway landing and return to the meeting room, someone pushed me from behind, sending me down the stairs. When I turned my eyes to glance at who it was on the way down, they were two girls that I didn't know, who were grinning while watching me. Were they also reincarnators? I didn't notice since they didn't have any sign of being possessed by that presence. That is to say, these actions were the cause of that child. In that case, I guess I'll stop going easy now. It's been around 02 seconds since I was pushed in the back. My eyes turned crimson red like blood as I used my physical capacity as a demon. Catching their hands on the way down, the two of them had their faces change from smiles to fear, as I threw them, using my full force for the first time in a while. The two girls disappeared from my view in an instant and vanished from this world, not even leaving behind a scream as they pulverized the window. Crap, I've made a small mistake. The smoky smell of burned cloth was coming from my uniform as my sleeves failed to endure friction from the air. Will I have to use my replacement uniform in the locker? But if I did so and went down the stairs, I might be spotted by a witness. Yuzu. Onzada-kun. For some reason, Onzada-kun, who was supposed to be in middle school, was staring at me from under the stairway at the elementary school. Chapter 11. The Malicious Presence Part 2. Come with me, said Onzada-kun as he walked ahead of me, and I followed him out of Takamin. I contacted Kuka via email to take care of my bags, and, walking out with my coat while hiding the burned cuff, I felt cold for a moment. Cough, cough. Put this on, said Onzada-kun as he threw me the blazer he was wearing. Bufu. And of course, I didn't manage to catch it and caught it with my face instead. So embarrassing. Just how long have we been walking? About 30 minutes. In the meantime, I wasn't getting bored because both Uji-kun and Kuko were sending me mail, while Onzada-kun didn't say anything more than in the beginning. Onzada-kun was also sending emails. We arrived at a shrine that I didn't recognize, although it was old. There were people around, so we couldn't have a secret conversation. Yuzu, are you the evil presence? Onzada-kun turned back to face me after coming all this way to where he lived. But I'm sorry, that's a bit too abstract of a question for me to answer. When I told him so with my normal tone of voice, Onzada-kun scratched his head and stared at me a little. Are you the evil existence that has come to destroy humanity? Ah, I see, so you thought so because you'd seen me. That's right. They said that Matsuri was surrounded by the signs of famous temples. Well, maybe Onzada-kun was told something strange. What are you? I'm a demon. Choke. When I disclosed it, Onzada-kun choked. Demon? When I thought of telling you, I was thinking of making the really bad joke of, bear, but I realized that Onzada-kun would take it seriously, so I said it properly. TLN, bear equals greater than A. Kuma equals greater than Akuma equals greater than demon. I understand what you said. I'm not an idiot. Anyway, it was getting difficult to keep deceiving people, and either way I'm going to be in a bad state if I don't get my memories and power as a demon back soon. A demon? There's no way that exists. I'm kind of glad to hear such a normal response. Neither Onzada-kun's nor Yuki-kun's magic is considered normal, right? But Onzada-kun knows that it exists. That means, you're not Yuzu. I'm absolutely the real Yuzu, but rather, I'm the second incarnation of Yuzu. Second incarnation? It seems that Onzada-kun doesn't really understand what my brief explanation was. I have the memories of Yuzu up to around 15 years old. Would you believe me if I said that I had died at that time because of my illness? I think that I was born again as a demon, but I don't remember it well. When I realized it, I had already become Yuzu again, and so I began to live normally. Wait a minute. If you're being Yuzu for the second time, aren't you a demon now? I slowly shook my head at Onzada-kun's misunderstanding. No, I only regained the power of the demon after that kidnapping incident. It's still not complete, because the memories of me being a demon are still murky. It seems that my body protests at containing the power of a demon. What do you mean? Looking at the eyes of Onzada-kun staring back at me, I told him the truth. I think I will die again. Without even reaching the age of 15. Wow. I have actually been in poor health this whole time. I thought that the disease had onset early, and originally I thought that I would not have gotten truly ill until I hit the age of 12. But recently, it's been getting worse faster. Stop joking. Aren't you alright? It's only because I've been forcibly moving myself with demonic power. Onzada-kun, are you worried for me? Of course I am. You fool! I got scolded. But, to get so angry, Onzada-kun is still clearly my friend, but anyway, given the situation, well then, a second time, a return to the past, to be sealed in the past. Wait a minute, Onzada-kun. I heard something amazing there. N.R. That's the prophesy about the appearance of the evil 10 years from now, and with the 12-period hourglass, the past evil. Onzada, that's it. When I suddenly spoke up, I realized that I had been surrounded. There was about 10-20 of them. To not notice that there were so many, it seems that I haven't been very sharp. Well, Onzada-kun didn't notice either, though. I was done in. When I looked around carefully, there were no normal people. This was clear to me given that there were only people with good physiques. Brother, you really do love to push your luck. You were moved by your emotion easily. Come over here now. Why are all of you here? You and that girl were under watch. I thought that when you encountered her true colors you would understand, but you talked too much. Onzada-kun was despondent at realizing that he had been used by his elder brother. Still, I guess that there was still some familial affection. What are you going to do with me? Were these people going to do something to me? But what was in the past was sealed in the past by the future. If that's the case, I wonder if the people now have been changed some way or another. As I cut in, Onzada-kun's brother turned a vigilant eye towards me. You are the evil presence, incomplete and not yet fully awoken. Our role is to, before you fully awaken, kill her. That voice that cut in, where have I heard it before? Maiko-sama, it's dangerous. Why did you come here? I came to see where Yuzu would die. Since you all forced me to become the Maiko by all means, and I don't know what kind of bear she is, so just listen to what I say. Ooh. It's that idiot. There's an idiot. Matsuri, that was dragging around an entourage of pretty boys, is also a shrine maiden. I don't really know, but that existence that kept bothering me seemed to be recognized as something that wasn't just some wild monster, but at least, I managed to get some positive confirmation. If I managed to awaken completely, I would be able to break the seal. While Matsuri was squawking noisily, and I was contemplating that existence, it seems that Onzada-kun managed to recover his spirits and whispered to me, Yuzu, you're not doing any evil with the demon power, right? Don't look away. Because his expression was so serious, I instinctively averted my gaze. Jokes aside, I too whispered back to him. Hey, aren't demons normally a part of this world? Like how wolves hunt livestock, or like how small animals feed on grains. You understand? So in short, you are the Yuzu I know? That's right. I don't know. It seems typical of Onzada-kun, though. Are you going to die? As it is, yes, but if my memories were to return, then, I will protect Yuzu. Until then. I promised. Thank you. This person sure speaks lightly. Besides, help should come soon. I managed to persuade them to come using Yuzu's name. Help, listen up. Okay, just kill Yuzu quickly. Matsuri's voice sounded out again as we were talking. Onzada-kun's older brother and his colleagues, while looking saddened, set up their staves, and began to channel their ki as per usual. Every one of them seems to be stronger than Onzada-kun. I think that I might be able to win if I went at my full power, but with my physical condition at the moment, I don't think I can keep Onzada-kun alive while sustaining my full power. But then, windstorm. Suddenly, a voice cried out, and a windstorm blew into the quiet shrine from the forest. What? It's not just a gust of wind. It was a magical wind that was filled to the brim with magic power. There were those who had been torn apart by what seemed like invisible blades, and those of them who were hiding in the shadow of the trees were blown away into the air. Protect. I defended Onzada-kun and myself by constructing a magic barrier, with the spirit language. Being able to do such things, there was only one person, Yuki-kun. That's reckless. He was the only person that could have been called by Onzada-kun for reinforcement. Among the people I knew, what were you doing to make Misa this worried? But this magic, since it couldn't be resisted without magic power, Have some people died? Since my brothers are demon exorcists who live on the battlefield, they should be fine. But what's the meaning of involving Yuzu? Was it not alright? Onzida-kun looked anxious, though I thought that it was clear. You attack this way. As Onzida-kun shouted out, a boy wearing a black mask appeared with a very distinctive presence from the shadow of a tree. Onzida-kun, retreat. Anen? What's wrong? At that time, Yuki-kun unexpectedly released a tremendous magic power and a rippling killing intent. It was a shout that sounded like he had unleashed something he was suppressing. It was, after all, that presence. The people who had been attacking me for a long time had all had desires and malice within their hearts, and so they had been possessed. Desire and malice were used simply because they were the strongest and simplest feelings that people had. But some people had some pretty strong, negative, emotions. Those feelings, like rage, or hatred, there's a tremendous energy in sustaining such emotions. Of all the people in the area, the only one a rage that was this strong was him. Yuki-kun. Were your feelings used? Chapter 12, Awakening Part 1. Even though Shijima Yuki was a 6th grader, he continued to help out with the raiment shop in the shopping district. Takumin School was well known as a school for children of good families, but with the number of them decreasing, there was a renewed focus upon academics, and the secondary school side had also reoriented themselves into a preparatory school. Yuki was receiving the treatment of a special student with excellent results at his prep school, and although the number of other students would swell when they advanced to middle school, they would still have to maintain their top grades. Yuki, with the memory and intelligence of his previous life, studied earnestly, due to his serious character, and didn't feel anything special about Takumin School. Rather, he was happier helping out in the ramen shop. Up until now, Yuki had wanted to return to his own world sooner or later, to have his revenge on the heroes from another world who had ambushed him in his previous life, and had tried to avoid being involved in this world as much as possible. However, Yuki was unexpectedly able to make a friend, another reincarnator like Yuki, a human who had already quit being human, the magician of another world. Yuzu's friend, who was a practitioner of Ki that Yuki wasn't familiar with, Onzida, and the one who grabbed onto Yuki's hand and showed him a new world. Misa. Earth, the home world of the heroes who had killed him, was the object of hatred for Yuki, but Misa taught him that there were wonderful things in this world too. He wanted to get to know this world with her. He began to think that way before he knew it. Yuki was on his way home after having just finished helping out in the ramen shop on a sunny day. Before he knew it, he had begun to think of Misa's older brother, the shopkeeper, as his teacher, but he didn't feel like such a relationship was bad either. However, Yuki had something on his mind, and sighed in spite of himself. A certain presence that he had felt since a long time ago increased in strength with each passing day, and now it covered the entirety of Tokyo thinly, and that presence stimulated the anger and hatred within Yuki. Within he could hear it crying out, "Help me." As a former hero, he was worried, but feeling the distortion of that voice, Yuki was wary of it. Someone stepped out and blocked Yuki's path even as he walked down the road having these thoughts. Fun. Is this guy a hidden character? Yuki was caught off guard by the girl who had suddenly begun to say things that he didn't understand at all. I don't know whether you're a bug or something, but won't you come over to my side? Thanks to this, I've been stuck with something unpleasant. No? Who are you? From the girl, who was the same age as Yuki. He could feel that presence strongly overflowing, though usually people like this would lose their mind. This girl wasn't quite normal in the head, so she still seemed to keep her sense of self. Fufafu, I am Matsuri, the true protagonist of this world. Be grateful that I am speaking to you, minor character. Twitch. Yuki suddenly felt a strong dizziness assail him, and fell to his knees on the spot. He had been wary, but he wondered if he had been struck during that gap thanks to her idiotic behavior. It's just as that, God said. He completely surrendered to my charm at once. You bastard. Who are you? The presence that was overflowing from Matsuri strongly fanned Yuki's anger and hatred, muddying his consciousness. It seemed that Matsuri had come this far after being tempted by that existence. Fufafu. I can't go back now. Your face isn't so bad, even as someone in my periphery. Flash. A flash of light that tore up the night burned Matsuri's retinas. Yuki, who managed to cast the spell at the last minute, was able to escape. Although he had avoided becoming Matsuri's puppet, his spirit had been contaminated with each passing day, and his hatred was distorted. And now, Yuki-kun shouted as if he was shaking off his reason. Taking out his huge sword from within his subspace, he started to cast as he stared at me. Oi, what are you doing? Onzada-kun. I grabbed onto Onzada-kun's neck and flung him away. Dawa, protect. Lightning. At the same time I put up my magical shields. Yuki-kun's lightning struck and sparked off of it. The lightning strikes were of the wind attribute. Come to think of it, he was a hero who used the element of wind. Was his possession incomplete? He regarded me as an enemy, but hasn't fully lost his mind, so it's quite a troublesome situation. Yuki-kun. Are you serious about this? Destroy. In an instant, he swung the sword that was the same size as his body to the side, and I deflected it off of my fists narrowly by cladding them in magic power. Is it not just body strengthening magic, but also ki being infused into his movements? It was pretty fast, so I wasn't able to break the sword. Yuki-kun had been training his power since the very moment he had been born. Not only that, he had also been absorbing the power of his enemies through the power of his hero's secret arts, and raising his physical levels, plus he had the knowledge of ki from Onzada-kun and my own knowledge as well. This cheating bastard, are you a protagonist somewhere? Burn away! Exclamation mark. As Yuki-kun leapt out in response to my magic power, the trees around him burned to nothing in an instant. You're a demon. I heard Onzada-kun protesting from where I'd tossed him earlier, but what had he expected from a demon and a former hero who was driven mad by thoughts of revenge? To offer love no matter how hostile your opponent was something only found in children's fairy tales, you know. Nonetheless, given that he dodged that blow, I don't think I will be able to defeat him easily with magic. Although I had the physical strength of a demon, it's impossible for me to engage in hand-to-hand combat with him. Summon. A small magic circle formed within my hand, and black things fell out of it with a pitter-patter. Is that more seafood? But as the seaweed grew at a strange rate, it turned into a humanoid figure and stood up. Gross. Tilde. Lightning sword. Against the seaweed possessed by a lesser demon, Yuki-kun built up a small magic formation and tore through it with his extreme Chunobu sword, and absorbed its power. It's no good. Still, I unleashed the spirit magic I'd prepared in the meantime. Open dimensional gate. A door that by my reckoning was about twice as large as it was normally opened up at Yuki-kun's feet, and the dimensional rift tried to swallow Yuki-kun together with the surrounding air and the tree leaves. Wouldn't it be great if you returned to your home world? Although there was no air or water on the journey there. As I spoke of it lightly, Yuki-kun placed a similar summoning magic circle on his sword and hit the dimensional door. Did you just repair the dimensional rift? You seriously practiced what I taught? What a diligent pupil. Lightning. BZZT. I deflected the shot again with my bare hands as I set up a defensive barrier with magic power. Thanks to that, my blouse sleeve got burnt. If that's the case, I used my physical strength as a demon and grabbed the slender trees in my vicinity, pulling them out and throwing them at him. Yuki-kun slashed down at the trees that were flying at him with a thunderous roar and dragging clods of earth behind them, as he sliced down cleanly, splitting the trunk in two. Naturally, I expected him to do as much. How about this? In the middle of the fight, a single phrase came to mind. Let there be light. As a dazzling light was emitted from my whole body, a bright light emerged from the whole forest surrounding the shrine, and something like an angel of light appeared. Why did it turn out like this? Yuki-kun tried to slash at me with his sword, but it bounced off the angel. I didn't feel any backlash. Maybe It was the same attribute as Yuki-kun. The power of a spirit of light, however, even though it doesn't let attacks through, it doesn't attack. Still, it should earn me enough time. Penetrating light. Form a sparkling sacred spear. With the words emerging in my mind in their spirit language, I poured magic power into it. This uses quite a bit of my magic power. It's not to the point that it exhausts my magic power, but Yuzu's body was screaming out under the strain of channeling the magic. Go! I threw the golden spear that looked to be about 5 meters long towards Yuki-kun. Yuki-kun threw his thunder-coated sword at the sparkling sacred spear, leaping away from the impact. He's got a good intuition. The sacred spear instantly destroyed the sword, and deflected a little away. It hit the ground, exploding its surroundings in a burst of light. It had the holy attribute. It's not very effective against Yuki-kun. But that's kind of meaningless if the ground itself is left glowing red. If someone kept staying in the sun, they'd die eventually. Yuki-kun, who had been blown away by the blast and was rolling away, turned about sharply, and ran towards me with a new sword, even with his worn-out body. I can't move? My body has lost its strength and I can't move. Oh crap. I pushed my human body far too much. I hurriedly channeled my magic power into my body and tried to move myself forcefully. Cough. I suddenly coughed, and my body stiffened, stuck. His straight sword thrust out towards my heart. But, gashi, in front of my belly, the sword was kicked away, and grazing across a few centimeters of my face, it pierced the ground. That's enough. I heard someone speak out, and then I was hauled away from Yuki-kun by the waist. Sorry. Now I can finally make my move. Leave it to me. I will protect you, Yuzu. Onzada-kun. It was Onzada-kun, who both Yuki and I had thought to be out of commission, who had saved me. Chapter 13, Awakening Part 2. Bastard. Stop it, that's enough. To raise a sword towards a girl. As Onzada-kun cried out at the indecent state we were in, Yuki-kun began to hold up his sword in preparation for another strike. Onzada-kun. I'm fit. Don't move, Yuzu. I got scolded. But I guess it's okay after all. The next moment, Yuki-kun had moved in the blink of an eye, sticking his sword though Onzada-kun. He'd taken damage from my radiant spear, and his movements had slowed, but it seems that it's still beyond the realm of normal humans. Onzada-kun groaned with pain, but still, he'd managed to deflect the sword by hitting its side with a fistful of He was able to handle it despite being at that speed. Onzada-kun threw out his punch in that momentary gap. A large sword has an equally large backswing, and Yuki-kun met the fist with one of his own, and in front of me, I saw their kick collide, sparking. Without a doubt, Yuki-kun's physical prowess is not ordinary. With his body that had been trained with the hero's secret arts, he was able to handle an enormous iron sword weighing a few dozen kilograms with a single hand. It was a perfect system for letting him take on Onzada-kun's attack with one hand as well. Yuki-kun was clearly a few steps higher in both speed and power. Besides, he had his battle experience and skills as a hero that he'd gained in his previous life that had been forged over 10 years. There was no chance at all for Onzada-kun. It was like comparing an adult and a child. And yet, root of all things, too slow. As he began to chant in that moment, Onzada-kun kicked him as if he had anticipated it, and interrupted the casting. Yuki-kun instantly swept his sword sideways with one hand, but Onzada-kun was no longer there, instead kicking him in the back, but Yuki-kun took it on the handle of his sword. Was Onzada-kun predicting his attacks? Flash. Still, he's a former hero. He swapped over to a magic with a short aria instantly. A dizzying light? It seems that it'd be over if he got blinded. But Onzada-kun seemed to have read even that. Onzada-kun leapt in under cover of the light. As he was kicked in the back, Yuki-kun whirled around, taking out his enormous sword as a shield even as he lost himself for a moment. Amazing. Onzada-kun, you can seriously fight. Only barely, though. I know how to fight you. Besides, I too can read the signs that of the techniques that you taught. Onzada-kun had learned magic from Yuki-kun, but he wasn't able to use it because he didn't have magical power. It seems that he taught Onzada-kun something instead. Was it the way to read the signs that someone was going to use a spell? Maybe, because Onzada-kun takes even the feelings of ghosts into consideration, he was able to predict what actions his opponent was going to take according to their feelings. Seriously? And once again, for Onzada-kun, battle began. Predicting Yuki-kun's attack, he ducked and hid, waiting for a gap to appear for him to strike at. But Onzada-kun wasn't able to keep his composure. To begin with, there was a massive difference in their attack powers, and even if he had taken a small slash or a bit of magic, it would have been likely fatal. There was only instant death if his concentration flagged, but before Onzada-kun's concentration flagged, Yuki-kun lost his nerve and got serious. Flame, Mew. As Yuki-kun crushed the little magic circle he made onto his sword, it burst into flame. That looks bad. Since it was a magical flame, it doesn't transfer heat by radiation, but if he took Onzada-kun's attack on the flaming blade, Onzada-kun's body would burn. But, just a little. I could gradually feel my breath coming back to me, and the strength returned to my legs. When I forcibly stood up, Onzada-kun looked like he wanted to speak, but said nothing at all, even as Yuki-kun turned his wary eyes to look at me. Onzada-kun could use ki, but he was an ordinary human, unlike us, and I knew the limits of a human well. Although it was quite a good match to watch, why I ended up joining the battle in the end is because Yuki-kun had taken some damage from me previously, and it was different for us, who were of the class able to oppose an army alone. Yuki-kun was also human, but he'd taken a step into the realm of monsters. Still, I was unable to use a lot of magic power, but I think that if I just use light, I could strengthen Onzada-kun. Comparing magic, humans can't compare with me, a demon. Once Yuki-kun ran out of magic power, or my bodily condition recovered, we would win. Let's go, Onzada-kun. Don't push it. Of course. Don't let there be light. My magic enveloped Onzada-kun's body in light. Maybe it would improve his physical strength and defense. I don't know why I could use my demonic power like this, but it's convenient and I have no complaints. Something about this magic stimulates my memories. I wonder what it is. It seems that I used it all the time. With this power of mine, I was fighting vampires, stupid humans, something. A pitch black beast. Yuzu. As I was swept up in my own thoughts, Onzada-kun cried out to me, but Yuki-kun hadn't moved. Then what? I casually looked around. Nearby, there was a small shadow that ran up to me from a few meters away. Yuzu, you should disappear. Matsuri. Between the pressure from Yuki-kun and my magic, how was Matsuri alright? How did I not notice her until she got this close? I could feel that presence from Matsuri quite strongly now. I see. Is that presence, that thing which is so afraid of me? It went and gave an unreasonable and distorted power to the human Matsuri. But why was it so afraid of me? Demons were the natural enemy of human beings, but me, do I have the kind of power that a being that is worshipped by human beings through shrine maidens needs to be afraid of me? And the only way to fight against it, power. That's right. I fought against that pitch black beast. Matsuri was slowly approaching me. My thoughts were accelerated, so I could see her approaching as if in slow motion. But my body can only move at the same rate as a normal person. I could see Onzada-kun trying to rush towards me, shouting something. I wonder if that small knife in Matsuri's hands could kill me. In that slow-moving world, I watched as the sharp edge buried itself into my stomach little by little. Matsuri's smile filled with madness in front of me. However, I'm not looking at Matsuri. Behind her, I saw that black cat appear, those silver eyes that stared at me. I see. That's how it is. That was Dark Beast. Have I kept you waiting? Rin. The air. No, the world, squirmed and shook. An enormous magic power, several times that of the total that I'd used up until now, was unleashed from my whole body. The color drained from the world, cracking and collapsing around me, as it all fell off. As the presence was blown away, Yuki-kun was left dumbstruck and dropped the sword out of his hand. As I ran out, Onzada-kun's crying face cracked away with the world. Heian. Along with the sound of a tuning fork, the colorless world disappeared and faded away, and I saw a clear blue sky. I saw a woman's hands, which were outstretched towards the sky, wrapped in a dress of black and silver lace that flowed with the breeze. Her hair like golden thread waved in the wind. That's right. It's me. Yeah, Russia. Chapter 14, The Demon God War Part 1. That's right. I'm Russia. With those memories back, I have all of my power now. Looking now, I can see my golden hair and pale, porcelain hands after a long absence. It really is a completely different body from Yuzu, who was just human. Both bodies were me, but while being in Yuzu was familiar for my mind, this body of Russia is completely optimized for handling my demonic powers. I thought that this form came from a demon possessing a dead baby, but this body had the same features as Yuzu. What do I mean by that? Not to say that it isn't still creepy, it's just that this body has attributes from this incarnation. It's fine anyways. Where is this? Around me is something like a field of lightning, shining lights suspended in the air. I can move my arms and legs normally, and can see the daytime sky above, but my other surroundings are blocked by the lights and I can't see past them. Just then, I saw a black dot falling from the sky right above me. Russia. Rin, the same black cat that I had seen as Yuzu landed on my shoulder. Honestly, after such a long time apart. Rin. Sorry, it was hard for me to remember. No, it's okay. Now that I look closer, the amount of magical power that Rin feels like he has is much smaller. Did you get weaker? I used the seal that Russia made to interfere with the past. I could barely even take my ability to speak with me like this. Thank you. As I touched Rin's face, he gave my face a gentle lick. What was that? You're really not a dream? This is unmistakably the past. The history of the world has changed accordingly. If that's the case, I died not because of sickness at 15, but of being stabbed and dying before I even reached 12. When I thought that, I got a bit mad. That woman, if that Machuri is still in this world, she'd better be ready. So, when is it? It's been 6 months since we've came to this dimension. Half a year. It was quite a long time to be sealed. That reminds me. It feels like my arms and legs have grown. I see. Without knowing it, I turned 12 years old. This past year, half was spent fighting Demon Road S High, Hira. What was it? Something like Narurahan over and over. The other half I spent in a seal. So anyways, I'm 12 years old now. I see. Back then, Onzada said the technique was called something with 12 and hourglass in it. Maybe the original technique was meant to keep a presence away from being a baby up through being 12 years old. Since Yuzushia was close to 12 years old, was the original ceremony cheated? If that's correct, I would have been completely destroyed when Yuzu, or rather Yurushia now, reached age 12. But since I traveled to the past, it couldn't crush my life and tried to restart at age 6. Due to the ambiguity from the memories of me remaining, as well as the interference from Rin's sacrifice, I was able to regain my demonic power. That irritated their presence. So, using a person like Machuri, who interfered with the completion of the technique, a fight happened that allowed me to awaken before I was 12 years old. Something like that? Rin, I'll be escaping from this cage for now. And then? Since Rin seemed to understand my plan, based on his tone, I gave a little smile. An extermination. This is the first time I've been made into such a fool. Shine the light of terror. The cage of light isn't holy attribute, but it had the effect of sealing a demon, so my anti-demon weapon, Sacred Series, won't work. So I was making a new type of magic from the spiritual world, something I'll need to defeat other hostile non-demons. Pierce Spear of Night. A jet black spear more than 5 meters long appeared, and I scraped the cage of light with it. Pekayan. The struck light cage made a sound like glass breaking. Is this a temple? No. A shrine? It's surrounded by forests. But since I can see skyscrapers in the distance, it shouldn't be far from Tokyo. Looking around, hundreds of priests were surrounding me within a dozen meters. Their eyes were filled with awe and fear as they looked at me. So, as I looked away from them, I took in my unreal features and made a face. Among the men, one wearing only casual clothes and a leather jacket with another person were being held back by the surrounding people. That person. Where's he going? Yuzu. The voice is different, but something sounds nostalgic about how he said that word. Shara. The thin black chain appeared that stretched from my hand straight to that person. No way. Onzada-kun? When I yelled out, the men finally seemed to get back their bearings after the shock. It can't be. The Dark One has been let out. This guy got in the way. Be calm. I will restart the ritual ceremony. For world peace. Work together. Who is that? Something was coming from behind them. A dust cloud like from a small tornado was blowing. The priests and monks being blown away while screaming. Past that, there was a black mask-wearing figure holding a huge sword. That's Yuki. Oops. I entered audience mode without thinking. I descended to the ground and called to where Onzada-kun was detained. Put up a holy-based defense. Hold on. Penetrating light, radiant spear. Yuki came over in a hurry and floated on Onzada-kun's side, putting up a holy magic barrier up. At the same time, my unholy spear blew away all the priests. Well, some were blown away then rolled back towards me, though. Still, I don't think it will be over with just this. Everlasting light. Celestial bow. Hundreds of golden arrows shot from the shining bow and struck the priests. Those who ran, those who tried to fight, those who were stunned in place, everything was blown away by the carpet bombing of my attack. If they're lucky, they'll still be alive. It's been a while since you fought an enemy so one-sidedly. After the annihilation of light, two stunned people came closer. When we stepped forward, we looked at Iakutha with mixed expressions. Then, Onzada-kun opened his mouth first. Is it really you, Yuzu? Yes. Though now my name is Yerushia. Onzada-kun sure has gotten old. I'm not old. Onzada's appearance has changed a lot. He was older, about 30 years old. Well, if you were a modern person at age 30, you'd still look young, but it still has a little of the old person scent coming from you. Should I shave my beard? Ha ha ha. This feeling. It really is Yuzu. When he came closer to me, Onzada-kun dropped to his knees like he'd lost all his strength. Thank God. I didn't believe you were dead. If the deal had gotten you, I've been looking into how to save you forever. I was looking to get in the way just before the final stage of the ritual. Yuki-kun. Yuki lowered his mask and showed a slim face. Is he also in the latter half of his 20s? Maybe because I looked at Onzada first, the impression was less. I was able to remember everything because they helped me. Thank God. Here, let me help you up. You're a bit more of a terrifying demon than I thought, but I don't mind the way you took care of all the priests. Besides, now I can return what I owe. What a serious look. As normal, his gaze is hard. Wait, is it becoming warmer? I cannot forgive that. Presence. That's right. The presence sensed my return and trapped all of the people in the country within its seal. Even though it's powerful, it feels young in how it does things, and it feels like it is being used by the shrine maidens, rather than being worshipped. Yuzu. Or Yerushia now, let me give you the memories I've recorded. It should help you understand what I found out about the presence. Do it. Yuki-kun casted a layered spell wrapped around me. When I let the magic power pass through me, the events up to now flowed into my head. Something is coming. It was like a scattered scene without sound, but I was able to understand it. Koto-chan got married to Dad-chan. Yuki-kun and Misa also married. I didn't get my chance at the shovel speech. It seems like Yuki-kun is the second in command of Dad-chan's shop. Obani-san has become the president of my family's company. Dad and Mom are still fine. Kuki and Kuka have gotten together too, and there are already babies. Uchi-kun. Thank goodness. He has a normal, full-bodied wife as well. Onzada-kun was not a monk at his family's temple, but at a shrine. I wonder if it was because he didn't like what his older brothers did. It seems like Onzada-kun and Yuki-kun were studying together. And Matsuri seems to be in the middle of a circle of shrine maidens now. Although she was able to have me killed, she wasn't able to control it. Maybe there was a wavelength of thought in young people. So, maybe that's where the presence gets its power. Is this the truth? Oh, you shouldn't be awake yet. Yeah. It's too soon. In a distorted world with little magic, it went in not hibernation. But the directions the departing soul's takes went wrong. It was supposed to be born in the future, but it still responded to it. Human desire dug it out. I raised my golden bat wings to the sky. Wings. Where are you going, Yuzu? I heard Onzada-kun's voice, but ignored it. There was something I needed to confirm. While flying high into the air, there were huge cities all over the place. I recognized their presence. When I looked through my eyes, I saw a huge thing overlapping with the town, the center of culture, the city that doesn't sleep. A huge city recognized all over the world. Desire, longing, emptiness. Those feelings gathered. Human selfishness created this presence. In this world, a true God, born only in this world, from a new, human ideal. True God. Tokyo. Chapter 15, The Demon God War Part 2. He.L.P. H.L.P. H.E.L.P. Suddenly, I heard sounds in my head. I don't understand what the extent of that power is. I can't see the whole picture. Even for me, being a devil, even though I had power beyond both Onzada-kun and Yuki-kun together, I could see that giant light rising into the sky. It's not unlike looking at a pillar. An aggregation of human desires and dreams. A whirlwind of prayers filled with desires, a God that was created only for humans, the ultimate ideal of humans. A true God, the true God. Tokyo. Zuzuzuzuzuzuzuzuzuzu. A quiet earthquake shook the entire city of Tokyo. Was it scared? Was it angry? All I could say with certainty was that this full God, Tokyo, regarded me as an enemy. That power, seething strongly like magma, boiled over and rose like steam from the city of Tokyo. And it started to create something. Judging by their appearance, they were translucent and larger than a human being. With all that collected desire, were they collecting and strengthening the evil spirits? From that I could feel a similar power to that of a lesser demon. There were tens of thousands of them. They weren't my match one-on-one, but with this many of them, I would waste time and power. Yeah, Russia. I will attack from underneath with that Onzada guy. Azrin told me to keep an eye on it. The black dots below me moved restlessly. We should quickly move before that devil gets here. Oh well, at times like this, if it had been the normal Rin, he would have plunged in and bitten both of them. For him to be staying on my shoulder not doing so. Just how weak has he gotten? For now, I folded in my wings, and dived downwards. I couldn't see Yuki-kun. Did he think I had disappeared, or was he attacked by those priest people who'd returned? Was Onzada-kun turned traitor by them? Blow away. My holy spirit magic blew away all the priests who looked like Onzada-kun. Of course, I put Onzada-kun in the center of the explosion. As I descended, I found Onzada-kun and called out to him. Are you alright? You're so ridiculous, Yuzu. Onzada-kun was fine even though he had been covered in soil. What about Yuki-kun? He went somewhere else. Perhaps his family? You're spouting nonsensical things again. Excuse me. I don't mean to stay quiet about this, but I feel like hearing Yuki-kun's impression of me. But I stopped because no matter how I put it sounded bad. That guy's acting like a newlywed. It gives me stress. As Onzada-kun talked, he took a sip from his bottle as he sat down on a rock. Is that sake again? I didn't get along well with the Buddhist monks. After working all night, I would look forward to eating ramen and having drinks at Yuki's shop while on my way home. The work in a temple. Is that the sake from the blessing? Yep. It's as you expected. How does that make it any different? I wonder. I feel like a totally useless adult. Yuzu, could you do something about that? Onzada-kun spoke out a little seriously, gesturing towards that flock of unis. There, true God Tokyo. Still, in any case, it's already been decided because my aim is to take care of them too. That one that looks like a uni is probably what Oyama uses as a proxy. Those guys, while they stayed in the temple, they were placing magics upon Yuzu, all in preparation for a fight. Are you using the power of that existence? That's right. It seems that they draw power through the shrine maidens. That is to say, that girl is also nearby? Smiling as I asked him, Onzada-kun nodded slowly as he swallowed his spit. Yes, she should be in one of the nearby temples. Got it. I nodded and looked about quietly for the flock of Oni. They're getting closer. This place is no longer safe. If that was a summoning, then maybe it was coming here to save the monks who've fallen here. Onzada-kun, you should leave here. If at all possible, leave Tokyo. Yeah, Russia. I'm staying with this guy. Rin suddenly said such a thing, and Onzada-kun suddenly started, surprised by the black cat talking. Now, it's only that hindrance left. Because of that I've recovered a little. Dutan Onzada, amongst other things, let me guide you to a place where the miasma is stronger. I understand. I don't know what happened, but I guess I've leave Onzada-kun to Rin. Well then, I'm off. Don't relax your guard, be careful. I spread out my bat wings and flew into the sky. At the same time, a group of the Oni approached and attacked. The darkness that the light fears. Come forth, spear of darkness, towards the Oni that were blocking my way like a wall. I pierced them all and cleared a path with the spear of darkness. The Oni let out raw screams. Maybe that's the screams of the people who are manipulating the projections. As the Oni were extinguished, it seems like the damage also transferred over. I flew in the direction of the city of Tokyo and cast magic while surrounded by the Oni. The darkness that fears the light. Pierce, bow of darkness. I released hundreds of arrows from the Oni-less sky over the city of Tokyo. All of them aimed at their true god, Tokyo. It overlapped with the streets of Tokyo, so if I chose to shoot it, it would be easier to hit. Feeling the pain. Or was it fear? True god, Tokyo, trembled, and the city of Tokyo shook like under an earthquake. The window panes cracked. I could hear screaming from the city. Anxiously looking up into the sky were a few people who saw the Oni, and had their faces cramp up in fear. They could see the Oni. But I wasn't going to be prudent. I didn't have that in the first place. There were too many people in this world, and because they destroyed the natural environment and clustered up, there's no magic power around, and all the spirits and demons are gone. Because of that, the balance of circle of reincarnation has collapsed, and the world is beginning to collapse. Humanity, who has lost its natural enemy, needs to fear. It was necessary to respect that which could not be seen with fear, and necessary to restore the spirits. Therefore, I had been summoned to this world to deliver the blessings of a demon to this world that was beginning to decline. Well, cover story aside, spear of darkness at the center of Tokyo. No, at the heart of the true god Tokyo, I threw a spear of darkness with all my might. The spear roared as it flew, destroying hundreds of Oni as it flew towards Tokyo. Help! Comma boom! An enormous quake shook Tokyo, blocking off my spear of darkness, as the tsunami-like shockwave emanated from true god Tokyo. Brilliant shield! I blocked that off quickly, but my consciousness grew hazy for a moment from the sheer force of that impact. As expected of a god. Following that gap where I lost my posture for an instant, the group of Oni attacked again. Right now, even a god would have barely been an opponent for true god Tokyo, and moreover, I couldn't keep up with the countless opponents. Dark winter that falls from the sky. Although I'm not good at it, it's not like I'm unable to do ranged attacks, you know? And the range of this magic is the entirety of the city of Tokyo. Rain of darkness. As I cast my spirit magic, the entirety of the blue sky was covered with dark clouds, and falling with the black rain that came from the clouds was a massive magic that struck at the spirits. Hey, if you don't block it, the humans will be harmed, you know? Somehow, that sounds like a line a supervillain would use. They might not have heard my voice, but tens of thousands of the Oni gathered to try and prevent the rain of darkness. It won't cause them a lot of damage, but their movements are sealed. Right? Those Oni are not the true god Tokyo, and it seems that the monks have the power to decide their own actions. The streets of Tokyo are rumbling again. What is it this time? Were you getting impatient at the Ana who weren't moving as you expected? From the land of Tokyo, an immense power erupted and created something massive. A dragon? No, a snake. Simply put, it's just a snake-like shape. Almost as if a child was trying to draw it with a pen and scribbled it out sloppily. However, I still feel a strong power. Around 10 of those things came out. Among them, there was a particularly large 8-necked snake that had the overpowering feeling of an archdemon. Finally, you're getting serious, forming your own underlings. Then, I too, have to call out to my own underlings. Whether they'd come or not was a gamble, but the odds are in my favor. Demon summoning. As I cast my summoning magic, a huge, layered magic formation formed in the air. I don't know why, but I don't have any compulsion in my summoning magic, and I can only summon things that voluntarily cooperate. Such as marine products. But when I came here, Rin told me that they would follow me. Even if I didn't know where the Holy Kingdom was, if they were trying to follow me and came close, come on now. My cute little attendants. The dark cloud that remained in the sky got even darker, enough to turn the day into night. In opposition to the gods' underlings, 4 pillars of light faded as they pierced through the sky, thunder roaring as 4 humanoid figures appeared. The demons that came into this world. 4 terrifying archdemons that rivaled the power of a greater spirit that could cause a natural disaster. Like several thousand people running their nails down blackboards at the same time, the laughter at the rejoicing demons echoed throughout Tokyo, shattering the glass windows of Tokyo skyscrapers. I could hear humans screaming from the ground while the demons laughed and rejoiced at that. You guys, you're getting too ahead of yourself with happiness. Master Yerushia-sama. Ripping up the Ana that blocked their way, my 4 follower demons flew to my 4 sides. The first 2 to come were the girls with blonde and silver hair in maid dresses. As Fanny instantly jumped for my chest and Tina followed, I grabbed onto her face out of habit. Sorry. I'm glad to see you again. As I grabbed onto Tina's cheeks with a punipuni and humored her, the brother and sister duo approached me after annihilating the surrounding Ana. It has been too long. Master Yerushia-sama, we've arrived. Everyone, it's been too long. You've worked hard. Are you all aware of what's happening? As I asked them somewhat unreasonably, near the escort knight, and Tina the maid who didn't understand at all confidently nodded, while Fanny busied herself fawning on me and wasn't listening in the first place. Among them, Noah the butler was grinning. It's not a problem. We are your arms and your legs. Your sword and shield. Please give us our orders. Yes, well. I grinned broadly, gave them their orders. Destroy these knaves who are obstructing me. Yes. Well, the preparations are complete. But, to leave the 4 of them, who are archdemons, is it alright to let them be? As they scattered despite my worries, I took out something like a key from my pocket and slotted it into the sky. Open. Lost Eden. Suddenly, from the remaining clouds that were dyed black, a door opened. What is this? I didn't hear about this. Thousands of greater demon-like evil beings appeared from there and descended upon the city of Tokyo just like black snow. Noah, there are no problems. All of them are a part of Yerushia-sama's army. Is that so? Well, whatever. But now, we no longer have an issue with numbers. Well then, I'll give them their orders. It's a bit exciting. Greater demons. Oh, as I called out to them, thousands of them looked up to me and cheered. Rout the broil the puppet masters. And so, the battle between the gods' underlings and the demon army began. There were some differences in number, but their strengths were nearly equal. In the town that was covered in darkness as if deep at night, there, demons and Ana clashed with one another. For the people who were living in the Tokyo area, they looked uneasily at the dark sky, and among them, some of those who could see knelt on the spot with an expression of despair as if the apocalypse had come. Clairvoyance. As I chanted my spirit magic to use it to peer and check on their true god Tokyo, I finally found what I wanted from the temple that was under attack by the demons. Wearing a lascivious kimono like a poor villain in some horribly remembered period play, a woman who had 20-something pretty boys serving her wandering around, came out in a panic with a fearful expression. I found you. Matsuri. Chapter 16, The Demon God War Part 3. While I had managed to find her, the actual attacks from True God Tokyo were both sporadic and irritating. Spear of Darkness. He.lp.me. As my power collided with that of True God Tokyo, and disappeared. Its shockwave rocked the city of Tokyo. For some reason, I feel like True God Tokyo is doing more damage to the city than I am. Still, even though I was being pushed back earlier, this time I was able to cancel it out. Maybe its power decreases with each human in Tokyo that feels powerless? That is to say, if I annihilated every inhabitant of Tokyo, I might be able to easily disable their True God Tokyo, but I'm not interested in that. Matsuri is about to make her escape. It can't be helped. I have to just give her an offhand blow. She shouldn't die that easily, right? The light that shines through. Sacred bow. What's going on? Kaya? As Matsuri ran out of one of the temples in Tokyo, a number of light arrows flew down from the sky, blowing away the temple building. Matsuri-sama. Kafar. What is it? Quickly. This way. There, shrine maidens, who their True God Tokyo could communicate to, were limited to young girls with special souls. The reason why it was limited to girls was because they were said to have a childlike character that was similar to that of True God Tokyo, and gave it a sense of familiarity, and the only reason why they were limited to children was that True God Tokyo was afraid of adults and so refused. Matsuri, despite being grown up, was able to hear the voice of True God Tokyo, for some reason. Was it because Matsuri's spirit was young? Or rather, that it went beyond childish, and Matsuri, who never matured, specialized in only using nefarious methods, taking up a position to manage the younger shrine maidens. She twisted the words from True God Tokyo for her own convenience and told them to the monks, all for the sake of satisfying her own desires. The building suddenly collapsed and people were blown away. What exactly is going on? As Matsuri threw a temper tantrum at the teenager who had been chosen for his appearance alone, he looked up anxiously toward the dark sky. I can't tell. It's probably because the seal on that evil was released, but let's hurry over to the other shrine maidens as soon as possible. You understood. In fact, Matsuri could not see the spectacle in the sky. Matsuri, who could only hear the voice and had neither special power nor ability, who had lived until now with just her beauty and her scheming, she had not drained any of its power even though the remains of the power had accumulated in her soul. Hey, the evil presence is called Yuzu, isn't it? What happened with her? Wasn't she defeated a long time ago? How in the world did she revive? I don't know how. They probably failed. Are you saying I was wrong? No. Really, why is the world always trying to disrupt me? In the end, Matsuri was unable to start the events for either Kuki nor Handsome Prince. She thought that Yuzu had done something, but even killing Yuzu didn't solve it, since even after destroying the evidence, it seems that what Matsuri had done had been told to them, and as a result she could only be hated. Someday, I will make you kneel. That's right. You prepare the car quickly and bring some of the monks along with it. Why yes. Watching the young monk who ran away in a hurry, Matsuri threw off the thin kimono that had become dirtied in the bombing, and an unpleasant smile floated onto her face. If Yuzu is going to get in my way again, I have an idea. Please wait, Onzada. I feel a lingering miasma over there. Lord Rin, the temple that way though, you know? Onzada, who was traveling in a light truck with a black cat on his shoulder, quietly responded to Rin's words. Although he didn't know how it understood what Onzada was saying, but he was really quick to pick up and accept the existence of the weird. If it's a temple then there aren't any corpses. Because it's a temple, everything should be kept clean and bounded. Certainly, but Lord, there are those guys inside of the temple. If their powers are lessened, even with the number of humans, it won't be a problem. Drive through. Really? This mini-truck is still on its loan payments. While saying that, Onzida stepped on the accelerator and rammed into the temple from the front. Who are you? You bastard. You're the younger brother of a Mishima. There were several monks in plain clothes, not in their robes. However, from what they said, it was very likely that they were monks from Oyama. And as if proving it, the monks began to manipulate their kid. There's no use discussing. I said that it wasn't going to be a problem. Crash. Rin broke through the front glass of the light truck easily, and Onzida, who still had loan payments left on the truck, turned blue. Gra. As the monks were left confused over the carnivorous roar coming from the small black cat, Rin cut them down where they stood. Onzida, I'm going to eat all of this miasma. What are you doing? No, it's nothing. As Onzida looked at the light truck that had suddenly become riddled with holes, he sat on the ground and immediately took a sip of the holy wine, his eyes staring into the distance as he muttered to himself. Are you still alive back there? Did you hear me? Why yeah, most of the monks had already died despite their light injuries. This is a demon? As Onzida saw the state of affairs, he swallowed hard. Perhaps their souls had been devoured. However, Yuzu had told him, demon are a part of this world too. Onzida had thought that she had been saying abandon your narrow perspective, thinking of herbivorous animals that were hunted in the food chain. He had been denying to himself that humans ate animals and plants. Those who could say that were only those who had never touched anything but milk and fruits since birth. Even liquor and fermented foods, you would be killing the bacteria in your mouth. Onzida was by no means arrogant enough to try to compel others to do so. Oh, are you out of breath? Our luck is turning, but we only wear those clothes in an emergency. Where are you going? Are you escaping? Are you an idiot? We are different from you. We are following Matsuri-sama's instructions. Although the monk who was in plain clothes succumbed to temptation and answered, he regained his calm and threw that out. Oi, what the hell did that girl spew? As Onzida heard Matsuri being mentioned, he picked up the monk by the nape with a serious expression on his face. It's already too late. That's what Matsuri-sama said. Say it. Cough. Onzida shot out the ki that he had gathered in a moment into the internal organs of the monk, hurting them. If all of your organs get crushed, I'll just ask someone else. Now, speak quickly. After that, after one of them had collapsed from having his organs crushed, the other surviving monks talked, and Matsuri's plans became known. This is just like a joke. Lord, come back. We need to move right now. Kaya. Another earthquake? Kaya, you say? You sure have some guts. Did you say something? I didn't say anything. With a man who has hardly aged at all since he was young, and a woman who could only be said to be in her 30s, a comedy sketch started up again, as another girl in her 20s turned around, calling out to them. Koto-ne-chan, Dad-chan, cut it out. This is a hospital room. Sorry, Misa-chan. Hey, stop calling me Dad-chan, Misa. Dad-chan, Dad-chan. A little girl ran around the legs of the trio as she said such things. Look, now even Karen is calling me Dad-chan. I wanted to be called Papa. Fufu. At this scene, an old man lying in a single room smiled gently. Grandfather, were you awake? It seems like you've grown a little more. What are you talking about? Dad and the rest are coming soon, then we can talk again. That's right. Koton's grandfather from the Tukuki side was on the cusp of death. He hadn't contracted anything, his internal organs were weakening, and his lifespan was almost at an end. Long ago, thanks to his granddaughter Yuzu, he was able to face his family again. At some point, Yuzu had passed away after being stabbed by a phantom killer, but the grandfather still occasionally saw a chain extending from his breast and knew that she had not disappeared completely. He didn't fear death, because he knew that when he died, his soul would return to his granddaughter's side. Konkon. The door was being knocked on. Come in. When Misa stood and opened the door, there were several doctor-like people wearing white coats, and a few well-built male nurses. And there was a nurse with awfully thick makeup. How is he doing? Yes, he woke up earlier. She did not know what this doctor, who wasn't the doctor in charge, had come to do, but as Misa turned back to look at old man Tukuki, the doctors and nurses swooped into the sick room. What? Annoying. You guys silence them. Yes. As Kotone voiced her dissent, that nurse gave her orders, and the male nurses tried to detain them all. What are you guys doing? Shut up. If you don't keep quiet. Do you know what will happen to that child? Tilda? What are you trying to say? Matjuri, who had only seen nurse cosplay, looked down upon those who had been restrained and began to cackle. You all will become hostages for me to use against Yuzu. Isn't that a perfect role for a mob character? Yuzu. Wait, what are you even saying? That child is already. Yes, she's dead, yada yada. I'm sure of it because I was the one who stabbed her, but I won't find out what happened even if speak to a mob character anyway. Exclamation mark. The criminal was never caught. Fufafu. Old man Tukaki, because he was about to die, had been moved to another ward, and there were few people in this ward. Although the nurses would come if the call button was pressed, but it had been cut when the fake doctors came. This brat. I've seen you before. Hi. As Matjuri looked at her face, Kotone's daughter Karen let out a frightened wail. Stop it. Don't touch Karen. Who are you? So she's called Karen. Karen looked very similar to Kotone's grandmother with her eyes, probably because of her atavism. That is to say, both she and Yuzu had similar eyes. That face makes me angry. Matjuri muttered as she reached out for Karen, and then, to go that far, huh. Gashan. Glass-shattering SFX. Breaking through the glass window of the hospital ward, a black-masked person wielding a great sword rushed in. Misa, who realized who that was, leaked her voice for a moment, but hurriedly covered her mouth with her hand at Yuki's gaze. Who is that? Matsuri-sama. That is the black-masked person who has been obstructing us for years. I see. Yuki had come so far to protect Misa, and it seems that he was able to arrive at a good pace, although he was still quite a distance away from Matsuri. He was thinking of cutting them down, but since the young Karen was watching, he put away his sword, and Yuki fought the monks with his bare hands. As expected, you can't use that large sword in such a confined space. That's right. However, their physical capacities were too different. He may be the young shopkeeper of a ramen shop now, but Yuki had been the ultimate weapon of the human nation. A hero. Bow of Darkness. A jet black arrow that split into several hundred were loosed towards True God Tokyo, and it emanated shockwaves like a huge tsunami, offsetting the attack. The battle between True God Tokyo and I was in a stalemate. It was almost my equal, even though I was a devil, who was near the top of the ranking of the demon species. No, considering that I am still young and not at full power, it's my disadvantage. I think that if Rin regained his power, we would win, but it would take thousands of souls for Rin to recover his power as a beast. Also, unlike myself, who could only replenish my magic power with dried octopus, their god had infinite power reserves as long as it had believers. The believers were the residents of Tokyo who dedicate themselves to their desires. In enough time, it seems it will get to a point where I will lose unless I massacre them all. Yeah, Russia-sama. I heard a worried voice from my attendants. There were the 4 of them facing 10 enemies of nearly the same power level as them, so it would be bad for me to ask for help. Mew. That Matsuri person was in such a place. Kotone-chan. Misa, is that little child my niece? Sacred wings. I added golden feathers to my bat wings and changed to a high-speed mode. At that instant, shockwaves racked me. Crap. I want to fly, but I can't move. I have to leave it to Yuki-kun. It seems like Rin and Onzida-kun were also headed for them. Will they make it in time? I thought a little bit and took out a single feather from my sacred wings. Maybe this could do the trick. Even buying a moment would be good. Please. Alias, Gawa. With a shining strike from Yuki, one of the fake nurses was sent flying through the door. When one of the fake doctors struck out a fistful of ki, Yuki not only received that fistful of ki with a single hand, but also crushed the bones with his fist. Due to the overwhelming difference in combat ability, the remaining fake nurses retreated with frightened faces. Seeing that, Yuki stepped forward in a dash, but stop. Matsuri had unexpectedly took up a fruit knife and pointed it at Karen's throat before he'd known it. Karen. Hyenen, mother. Annoying brat. I'll cut your face." Matsuri grinned while she looked at the fake nurses. The monks who were looked at, despite having reservations about taking a child hostage, took up their staves to hold off Yuki. "Don't hate me for this. Dower." At that time, someone was thrown through the now broken window. What is it this time? Stunned by the sudden appearance of a man who rolled across the floor and slid out onto the broken door in the hallway, Matsuri momentarily dropped her knife away from Karen's throat. But this time, a jet black mass jumped in through the window, biting Karen's collar and pulling her away. "A cat?" Kaiagawa. When she heard a scream, she looked back only to see Yuki beating down the last of the monks to the floor. "Karen!" Karen ran to Kotone. While looking at them, Matsuri looked up and rushed at Kotone and Karen with the fruit knife. Why can't you all just do what I want?" "I don't understand." Indeed, in this situation, they didn't expect someone to have such reckless behavior. It was an instant of carelessness. Matsuri's malicious blade approached the two, and as the fruit knife pierced deeply all the way forward, Yuki wailed. "Onzada? He, the one among them who had failed to protect a girl in the past from a blade, protected that girl's family at the expense of his own body. You're a nuisance." Seeing Onzada, who had cut in, Matsuri was foaming from the mouth, and she tried to push the knife in further. In the current situation, her push only lengthened Onzada's wounds. Even just twisting the stabbed knife would be fatal. But, there was now a person who was grasping onto Matsuri's knife hand, with blonde hair like golden threads, and a cold beauty like a perfect doll. A girl who looked down upon Matsuri coldly with her golden eyes uttered a single word as she placed her hand on Matsuri's face. "Burn." As she screamed like a beast at a slaughterhouse, Matsuri staggered backwards while holding her burning face, and fell out of the broken, third-floor window. The golden girl in a black and silver dress smiled softly at Kotone and her husband, Misa, and Karen, and then disappeared as it melted into motes of light. Russia's Holy Spirit magic had created for a virtual alias. For a few minutes, as Misa looked at the face of the girl that disappeared, her eyes went wide, and Kotone's voice leaked out. Yuzu.co, Chapter 16, The Demon God War Part 4. The glass on the building cracked from the shockwave, rather than the tremors, fell from the buildings. People looked up into the sky uneasily as the earthquake settled down, dark clouds spiraling overhead. They seemed to be stunned into silence at the battle between tens of thousands of onion demons. How could they escape? Where was there that it was safe to escape to? No matter where they fled to in Tokyo, if they looked up towards the sky there were monsters. A few courageous people took videos on their phones and put them up onto the net, though many of them seemed like dumb videos that only showed the clouds and nothing else. For those that could see, about 1 in 1,000, the eyes of people all across the world were focused upon Tokyo. People with strong souls. Mostly, it was the celebrities with talent, and decent politicians. The battle between the greater demons and their was turning into one of annihilation. It was not a one-sided massacre. It was not a war where one could surrender and be captured by the other, and they could only smash at the sanctity of each other's souls for so long as they lived. The were greater in number, but the demons were of better quality. In a fight where souls couldn't be obtained from the winners, the demons were gradually being beaten back, but that changed in the middle of the battle. Fushura they're coming. Some of the demons had found a temple with the monks who were manipulating the and attacked them, drinking of the monks' blood, stealing their souls. Each had a superhuman physique that exceeded 2 meters, and black bristles like a monkey that covered their whole body. Against the demons who had come to eat them with muddy yellow eyes and fangs, the monks who had only ever fought evil spirits could only run. The demons, too, had to collect the souls on sight. After all, today's daily allowance was 2 souls and 4 kilograms of dry seaweed per person. Although it was little for a daily allowance, if they were able to distinguish themselves, then they would be able to get the right to shake hands with the devil idol that they had never been allowed to directly see before. That was why the demons were looking for souls to increase their daily allowance, and to gain the right to a handshake. Above the clouds, The 4 archdemons, and the 10 underlings of the god was unfolding. Only the great 8-headed snake had as much power as the archdemon, but the other snakes had less power than the attendants. However, the underlings who gained power directly from True God Tokyo were able to regrow themselves in an instant when they lost bits. What a pain in the rear. Tina, who had the highest combat power among the attendants, had released her full power as a demon Gorgon, and was fighting with 4 of the underlings at the same time. The remaining 5 were being suppressed by the twins Noah and Nya, their incubus and succubus, but they weren't able to defeat them soundly. As for the last one, Fanny was fighting alone against the 8-headed Hydra and didn't seem to be able to attack head-on despite nimbly evading all of its attacks. Given that it was the strongest enemy, it was great that Fanny, who wasn't good at physical attacks, was able to pin it down. "Fanny, are you still not done?" As Noah called out, Fanny had just dodged, and blew away one of the 8 heads with one of the clown masks spawned from her nightmare. Is playtime already over? It's not playing. Nya, who had grown out jet black goat's horns, replied her without any urgency. Fanny's mask twisted, and she gave a bright smile. "Then I'll send you the analysis. I'll wait it." Fanny examined the graffiti-like structure of this enemy for the first time, although the analysis had already been done 30 minutes ago. "Here, take it." Holding the golden magic sword that he'd gotten from the mistress, Nya charged in alone into the middle of the enemies, stopping a number of attacks from several of the bodies with absorption, and the sword. She passed the power to her older brother, Noah. Decay, as he uttered in the spirit language. The breath that Noah released from his mouth exterminated a number of the underlings, cutting a line through the clouds. Crap, Onzida-kun got stabbed. My clone separating went alright and managed to repel Majuri, but the magic power that I put in the feather I sent has run out. I wanted to send it again, but it took quite a bit of magic power, so if I use it now, I'll have trouble dealing with True God Tokyo. That's right, I still had their contract on, so if I helped Onzida-kun, his soul would be completely bound. Yuki-kun could also use recovery magic, and since it's a hospital he'd be saved. Right? Help me, Kyuzan. Once again, it attacked me with a shockwave. My children are doing their best, so I shouldn't be distracting them. The battle situation is still even. My 4 demon attendants had reduced the numbers of the 10 underlings, but the battle continued. The greater demons were doing their best, but their numbers had decreased considerably. Well, even if they were defeated, unless they were completely destroyed, they would just resurrect in the demon world. But thanks to the fact that the children bought some time, the core of True God Tokyo came into sight. Deep underground in Tokyo. Was it found while sleeping in such a place? Well, I'd like to mount an attack now, but I'm a little worried about my remaining magic power thanks to the skirmishes with True God Tokyo. Should I have Noah and Nya replenish me? No. It's not good to break the balance of their battle there. If I poured all my remaining magic power into the Spear of Darkness, would it be able to break through all of the barriers of True God Tokyo, and penetrate the ground to hit the main body? If I could at least break the barrier then. Something reacted to the words in my heart. What is? After the incident occurred at the hospital, several of the fake doctors were being detained by the police. The black-masked person who seemed to know the details of the incident and the man who had been stabbed by the fake doctor had disappeared without a trace, and the patient in the ward where the incident occurred was moved to another room with the family. However, the old man who wasn't able to get up from his bed, even during the incident, had his already short life expectancy run out even further, and his life was exhausted. It seems that I'm being called. Old man Tukaki put his hand on his chest and gently smiled. When he said that he was being called, the rest of the family thought that he was nearing death, and gathered around the old man. Grandfather, we're here for you. Yes, that's right. Please come and eat ramen with me again. Come here, Karen. Yes. At the grandchild who came to his side, old man Tukaki stared at the gaze that resembled his deceased wife and granddaughter, and gently stretched out his hand to stroke the head of Karen. Was it scary for you? No, it was all right. A golden girl helped me and that uncle. Is that so? Old man Tukaki, recalled that beautiful golden demon, and smiled quietly, looking up at the ceiling from the bed as he gently closed his eyes. "I'm going to sleep." And Old Man Tukuki muttered his last words, closing the curtains on his life quietly. "Now, I'm off to join you." This is one of the chains stretching out from my hand. From there, chains of obligation, was broken, and suddenly, it was entwined with a black sphere that appeared from that space. Grandpa's. No, Gi's soul. Regardless of how it was when I was Yuzu, now that I've returned to being Yarushia, I feel like there's something wrong about saying, grandfather. Somehow, with thousands, no, tens of thousands of demons dedicating their lives to him, a contract with a demon lord, one who had his soul robbed by a contract with me, a devil. He was shining black with misfortune and sin. It truly was a strange destiny. Dying in this world, transmigrating into another one, being cheated by demons. He had been thrown outwards by me so that I could find this world, and I feel like fate was very strange, reincarnating again and having him becoming Yuzu's grandfather. With so many souls, he was worth well in excess of several thousand normal souls. If I ate this, I'll not only be able to fully recover my magic power, but my own power would even increase. But using it that way is too wasteful. You sure are useful, Giz. As I spoke, the soul of Giz shone brighter for a moment as if answering me. Demonic reincarnation. Ignoring the minor price, I forcibly reincarnated Gi's soul into a demon. As expected of a soul so steeped in sin, it's easy to demonize. In the twinkling of an eye, the soul reincarnated, and now trembling in my hand was a black slime-like demon lava. My attendants and I forcibly stuffed information into the demonic lava, remodeling it. This considerably accelerated growth, and I think Gi's soul should be able to take it. Furthermore, I fed half of my remaining magic into it, and forcibly evolved him, giving him an image to mold his existence to destroy my enemies, Demon Beast, Behemoth. As my servants tore up the dark clouds, it roared and took off. It appeared, a huge beast that filled the sky. A monster with bull horns that looked like a black bear. There, Behemoth. Oh God, help me. Grow. Oh. The shockwaves burst forth from both True God Tokyo and Demon Beast Behemoth at the same time, and as the earthquake shook Kanto, the barrier protecting True God Tokyo, and Tokyo itself was blown away. The darkness that the light fears, I started chanting the incantation for Spear of Darkness, with the last of my magic power. By my calculations, it will pierce through the center of True God Tokyo, that's deep underground beneath the rock. For some reason, in a straight line between me and True God Tokyo, Machuri was laughing madly with her face half burned off. How in the world did she get there? Didn't she fall out the window of the hospital? Was there residual power in Machuri that had brought her to True God Tokyo? She sure uses it easily. It's a nuisance to shave off her soul, and it seems like she's got some sort of magical barrier. Then in that case her soul should have been annihilated. Even when demons ate souls, only their experience values were absorbed. The rest of the soul was returned to the world, but it seems that hers has completely vanished. It's not for me to worry, but it's a pain. Yeah, Russia. Rin landed onto my shoulder, having recovered somewhat. It looks like it's still not complete. Nonetheless, I've recovered enough that I can return a blow to that thing. But first, Rin, who was sitting on my shoulder, suddenly poured magic power into me by feeding me mouth to mouth. I guess you want to settle things by your own hands? Well, thanks. Touching my lips lightly with my fingertips, I completed the chant of the spell with the magic power I'd received. Spear of Darkness. The jet black spear flew with a roar, piercing the still shrilly cackling Machuri through her barrier and continuing through the rest of the asphalt and bedrock to smash into True God Tokyo. Jaiwa, help me. In an instant, the city of Tokyo appeared to fade out slightly. He.help me. He.l.p. The sound of True God Tokyo's thoughts grew gradually softer, and the figure that was overlapping Tokyo City also sunk into the ground as if melting. That voice, it was crying out for help from the very beginning. It was actually begging for its life from me. As long as there was human desire from the people living within the city of Tokyo, True God Tokyo couldn't be destroyed. However, you can sleep now, only for another, about 5-6 billion years. But I realized that I'd done something bad. When True God Tokyo and Demon Beast Behemoth collided, a huge dimensional rift was created in the Tokyo skyline. And worst of all, because Behemoth had exhausted its power, it had begun to shrink. And even for those who could see, only I could be seen in the sky, with my angel-like wings. Most of them were looking up at me, who was looking at them on the ground. Well, isn't that just great? It's difficult to open another rift if I repair this dimensional rift. And I also have things I want to do. Listen well, human beings. By exerting the spirit language in the air, I transmitted my message to the whole world. It's impossible for every single person to hear it since I don't have enough magic power, but they should hear it if their souls are strong enough. I will be returning where I came. But I will come back one day, 100 years from now, or 1,000 years from now. The demons will surely return to this world, and we will devour all of you, along with your gods. As I widened my golden wings and covered the dimensional tiers, I went inside, camouflaging it to look like the sky. The humans have surely seen and heard it, those whose souls were strong. The decent politicians and the top leaders of each country should surely have heard it. The people in this world would know that humankind had an unknown natural enemy, that there were predators hiding in the dark that were aiming at them. The hearts of those who knew fear would create darkness in this world, and with that, they would create a source of magic power. This was my parting gift to this world, the claw mark of a demon's blessing. For whatever little time, enjoy your peace. Next time, I will return with an even greater demon army. Chapter 18. Onwards. One day, a major earthquake shook a portion of the world. Some videos on the various video hosting sites only had the images of dark clouds, but those with strong souls saw demons in the images because there were those that could see and those that couldn't. This didn't seem like some typical fake video. It seemed like the monsters from fairy tales or legends were overwhelming and filling up the sky. In it was a huge monster the size of a mountain blowing away the clouds. Then a beautiful voice could be heard after that. Needless to say, the world's religions and governments were rather confused. That young girl's voice that claimed to lead the army of demons had declared that she would return to this world one day and eat all the gods and the humans, and those with stronger souls felt a terrible fear. Still, the humans had hope yet that there was an existence that had fought against the demons and repelled them. Although the people at the centers of power smelled a threat, they only comprised about 0.01% of the global population, and most of the other people didn't feel threatened. The demons' words had planted darkness in the world, but it was still only slight. Still, the demons had planted something within the hearts of people. After all, everyone, and not merely some people, could see proof. There was the image of an angel floating in the blue skies above. Could it really be called an angel? A girl wearing a dress that was black as the night, with shimmering golden hair and golden wings. Most of the images weren't understood, but that figure, who was only clearly shown in a single frame a cameraman had captured, had taken the world by storm, creating a global fan club for her sheer beauty. Surely, she had to be the archangel that had repelled the demons. And so, in this way the world learned that there were powerful beings that were not human. Even if it was impossible right now, with darkness returning to this world, the spirits would also return. However, it was neither fear of demons nor her words that had done it, but rather, the single picture of a pretty angel. My attendants also followed me into the dimensional cracks and knelt before me. Yeah, Russia-sama, Rin-sama, will it be alright? But you guys were in the sky too. Where were all of you? That's not a problem, because there was the possibility that we would be seen by the humans. We landed quickly and blended into the crowd. Then, was I the only one who foolishly exposed myself to the humans? I wanted to be hidden too if you all were hiding. When I looked into that other dimension again, it already looked slightly different from the one that I knew. Was it because the space where True God Tokyo resided had unraveled, but Japanese bicycles, flower pots, signboards, etc., drifted about like satellites in orbit? There were also slightly disturbing things like skeletons inside minicars, but it can't be helped, even if did care about them. Most of all, there was air here that shouldn't have existed in the other dimension. It was about as thin as when climbing a mountain, and we were fine because we didn't need to breathe. But being exposed to vacuum suddenly was bad for the body. No, if this much air was sucked in, the Earth's atmosphere might have been drained considerably. Perhaps this is the effect of other-world summoning. Yuki-kun. For some reason Yuki-kun was here. He would be fine for now since there was air, but he wouldn't be able to return to Earth now, you know. Well, that's all right too. Why did you bring him? It was Onzida's wish. On Yuki-kun's back was Onzida-kun, whose stomach had been wrapped round and round with saran wrap, his face anemic from shock. Onzida-kun. Is it over? Yuzu. Yes. It's over. Why did you come here? How harsh. To the last. I wanted to see with my own eyes. Rin's master. I asked him to bring me here. Yes, it was a warrior's wish. I brought him to a place where he could see the fight. As I glanced at my shoulder, Rin told me that very naturally. What is this? Am I the strange one? He's going to die, so he needs to be treated by the adults at the hospital. Then, since the battle was over, Yuki-kun was brought here too? I don't understand the minds of men at all. Yuki-kun. What about your recovery magic? Recovery magic is a magic that raises the physical strength and forcibly stimulates the natural healing response. It doesn't work on wounds that can't be cured naturally. My recovery magic won't help. We need healing magic. Is it really that terrible? Perhaps. Onzida-kun is not long for this world. Feeling the depth of Onzida-kun's injuries, he'd probably chosen to come to me for his last moments. My healing magic could cure him, but Onzida-kun had lost too much blood and his soul had been diminished. So he would likely become a vampire, and if I helped him Onzida-kun's soul would become mine by contract. So when his life was over I would get his soul. Matsuri really screwed the pooch at the end. But if the price of saving his soul was to blow away hers, I didn't feel the need to be merciful. Well, in that state, it would probably be better for her to reincarnate as a mitochondria. Hey, Russia-sama, what are you going to do? Nya, who couldn't read the mood at all even though we were having serious conversations, asked me as she held the exhausted gaze to her chest. This is Benjamin. It's Behemoth. I guess it's somewhat suitable. This is Behemoth, but it seems that he's degenerated to the level of a greater demon as a sort of reaction to the explosive growth. Geese, who had released all of the magic power he had and shrunk down, now looked like a teddy bear. Taking a spare soul from Nia and splitting it up, he looked a baby, as he gnawed boisterously on the soul with his short hands and feet. He's surprisingly cute. Even though on the inside was a grandpa. Perhaps he doesn't seem to have any resistance against eating souls. As I muttered so, the teddy bear, Geese, tilted its head slightly, its round eyes the color of obsidian. Gore, as expected. It has no memories? As I looked into its bare face with surprise, Rin told me the answer. Russia, you maintaining the memories of when you were human is a rarity. They usually have a certain amount of personality from their past lives, but Gee's state is normal. He might possibly be able to remember bit by bit. Was he reincarnated like a normal demon? That must mean that I'm a pretty rare species. When we'd first met, Rin must have been interested. My own memory was hazy to me, but it seems that for Geese it's even more vague, and he doesn't even remember being human. That means that demons adapt easily, and don't all have bad backstories. Either way, Geese right now is just a teddy bear that's a little strong. But the eyes that were looking at me were kind. Maybe it's because it's Yuzu's grandfather. Putting that aside, back to Onzida-kun. Hey, Onzida-kun. What? Put simply, you're going to die. Haha, I guess that's so. He was laughing. What? I guess this is the feeling of regret over this state of affairs. However, I had to give him the choice. As a demon, now choose. Onzida-kun, did you know that you were saving a demon? Yeah. You don't regret saving a demon? Of course not. Onzida-kun spoke without hesitation in a quiet voice. Then I will give Onzida-kun your options. Would you like to die beautifully as a human being? Or would you rather live a greedy, dirty life as a demon? Onzida-kun's face turned serious as he quieted down. This was a proposal for a new contract. Because Onzida-kun had helped me, I could extend the terms of the contract with far better conditions than before. I can even throw in free detergent for 3 months. TL note, a stereotypical renting perk in Japan. If he died as he was as a human, then the contract upon his soul would be lifted and he would die peacefully. But on the earth, where souls were saturated, it would be difficult for him to reincarnate, and he would melt away into the world and be reborn anew with a different personality. If he reincarnated as a demon, then his soul would be bound to me forever. His memories of being human would also disappear. However, Onzida-kun's personality would remain. Which would be better? Onzida-kun must decide for himself. Hey, Yuzu. What is it? Do you have a lot of enemies? Well, I am a demon, so my enemies are naturally plentiful. Is that so? I waited for Onzida-kun's words as he mulled it over. Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an ally of justice. Yes. I know. I wanted to defeat things like evil spirits, but it turns out that the bad guys aren't so bad, either. That's rather philosophical. Can even demons still become an ally of justice? Onzida-kun, I didn't want to say anything, but I just had to say this. Demons are free. I see. Onzida-kun closed his eyes, and then quietly opened his mouth. It was a promise from when I was a child. As an ally of justice, I will protect you. Yes. And so, the contract was complete. As he said that I will protect you, a new contract was formed. Yuki-kun, who was watching, didn't say anything even though he looked like he wanted to. Yeah, Russia. Rin, who was watching from my shoulder, spoke out quietly. Onzida's soul is already at the limit. Unlike Geese, who was strong from the beginning, in any other dimension like the demon world, the soul would likely scatter even if he became a demon unless you prepared a vessel. Both and Onzida-kun's faces scrunched up. Wait, the nice atmosphere was ruined. A vessel? How in the world would I get such a thing in this different dimension? Well, how about this? Drifting about in the vicinity, I saw one of the Kuro-chan dolls from the drugstore. As Onzida-kun's face turned blue, and shook his head. It's totally not my selfish desire or anything. Yeah, Russia-sama, will you use this? What? Fanny, who was holding open the door in the dimensions, came, rustling around in her skirt as she looked for something. Onzida-san's gaze was attracted to Fanny, the cute maid who was turning over her skirts, and so she hit his face with a bookend. Fanny, your garter stockings. Onzida died? As Yuki-kun's panicked voice rang out, I answered quickly. Males. It was. Here it is. It was my rabbit stuffed toy, which Fanny, as Fontaine, had previously destroyed, that had been meticulously restored by her with her hair and magic power. She still kept it. That rabbit stuffed toy that I'd gotten from my father on my 3rd birthday was a cartoonish-looking one, with a round head and teardrop-shaped body with cylindrical limbs. A lovely disproportionate rabbit. Good. Then let's start. Yes. Onzida-kun was going to say something to me as I summarily decided it, but I didn't hear anything. I felt like I heard you, demon, but please stop making strange damaging rumors. Besides, there was the intent of devil, along with the material infused with archdemoness magic power, so isn't it quite a suitable vessel? Hooray! Onzida-kun. By the name of Demon Lady Russia, designate this soul as a demon. Dedicate yourself to me eternally, and possess this vessel. Wait a minute, a dying person should just go quietly. As Onzida-kun's body disappeared and slowly morphed into the soul of a demon, I forcibly packed him into the rabbit-stuffed toy. Onzida-kun, I will give you a race name as a demon. Well, you. Rabbit demon. Be born. Demon, Laplace, a demon that can see time. I imagined the rabbit from through the looking glass. I wonder if it might match up with Onzidakan's ability to read attacks. After a little while, the rabbit stuffed toy Onzidakan got up, and after looking around, it started nodding at me. Thanks to the high-level contract that was established, I felt the power of a greater demon, the memories. It might be the same situation as Geese. Amidst the vague memories, it still recognizes me. The memories are sure to return over time, too. If it increased its power, it might even become human-shaped. I will be waiting. Onzidakan. N and tilde. Onzidakan suddenly pointed towards something and began to run. I thought that he'd found something in the wreckage, and then he ran back. Onzidakan. It was holding a bottle of sake and a glass. Gagor. Glug glug. Geese, who saw it, came up to Onzidakan, and both the bear and the rabbit started drinking like two middle-aged salarymen. It's so surreal. Well, is it really that great? That stuff, it's nice. Anyways, what will Yuki-kun do? Are you returning to your hometown? As I looked over at Yuki-kun, I asked him nastily. Well, I've just gotten married, so Misa isn't done with you yet, that girl. It's too late for that now, isn't it? Yuki-kun's face looked disappointed even though he was laughing. Well, didn't you agree yourself to come with me? Why don't I avenge you instead? I've brought you something else as well. It's the information of the different world, Tess, that I have. In it, I've recording as much as I know of the hero's secret art, and all the coordinates I have. However, there are some parts that I can't remember, so it's not entirely complete. Is it alright to send a demon to your hometown? I trust you, somewhat. I understand. Thanks for this, then. But be careful. Although you are stronger than them, the scary part of the heroes from another world isn't their strength. As he left that message, Yuki-kun parted with us to restore the dimensional cracks from the Earth side. We could completely close this if we restored the rip from both here and the other side. It means that I would say goodbye to this world. Now, I don't know how to get to the Holy Kingdom yet, but I think there will be some clues in the world of Yuki-kun which summons from other worlds. And also, how would their heroes who betrayed Yuki-kun taste like? Fufafu. Well then everyone, shall we go? Chapter 19, Setting Info, Demon Encyclopedia. Demon Encyclopedia. Demons, who inhabit the demon world, one of the worlds of spirits, can be divided into several kinds. Least demon. Basically without note, they don't have any intellect and are weak and selfish in the demon world, but when summoned into the material world, they have as much power as an average soldier, and could be summoned without human sacrifice. They are basically snacks for other demons, a pitiful existence. Lesser demon. These are the kinds of demons that most people would think of when asked to imagine demons. They have terrifying appearances like some sort of mutant animal that walks on two legs. They roughly look similar to one another, but the strange thing about them is their combat prowess. With a body made entirely out of magic power, they can use magic by converting parts of themselves into power, and with a shrewd wit and a giant body that exceeds 2 meters in height, they can disable a knight in full armor with a single blow. Their fighting ability is said to match around 3-5 knights together. Greater demon. With an even bigger body than a lesser demon, their silhouettes are much closer to human. Their most terrible aspect is their intelligence, which is said to be equal to that of, or higher than, a human being, and with their enormous demonic magic power they could shoot out many attack spells with a single roar. They always cheat their summoners to devour their souls, and need great care and attention to summon. It was said that each one's battle capacity is equal to that of at least 100 average men, up to around the size of a small army. Archdemon. A higher class of demon. Even in an entirety of the demon world, there are only around 100 of them. Their power is equal to that of a greater spirit that can create natural disasters, and when they appeared in the physical world in the past, even when they didn't manifest fully, they would require the power of the whole country to subjugate, or for a hero party to link arms and take them on together. It is said that when they showed up, They looked like humans, clad in clothes that looked as if they had been weathered for thousands of years. Highest order demon. A great individual that rarely appeared amongst the archdemons after a long time. The existence of 3 types of them. Their demon lord, their demon beast, and their devil, have been confirmed. They were their gods of the demons, whose abilities were shrouded in mystery. Demon character introductions. Russia. Magic power, 120,000, 530,000 in demon form. Species, Golden Beast. Demonic title, Devil Demon Beast. Devil Princess, 12 Pillars of the Demon World. Appearance of a 12-year-old. Height, 158 centimeters. She is a beautiful girl with golden eyes, and long, straight golden hair going down to the middle of her back. A special individual with memories reincarnated from a human being. Summoned to the material world by accident and fusing with a stillborn baby, she became a powerful demon with human attributes. Besides being a humanoid devil, she is also a golden cat type, demon beast, which Russia uses for magical warfare and physical warfare respectively. Although the person herself doesn't know this, she has become one of their 12 pillars of the demon world, after single-handedly destroying one of the pillars of the demon world. Their demon lord. Rin. Magic power, 1,080,000 species, dark beast. Demon titles, demon beast, legendary demon beast, 12 pillars of the demon world. Originally a jet black leopard whose total length exceeded 10 meters. More recently, it has been more and more like an ordinary black cat. It had been summoned to a world as a larva, gained an intellect, and then set itself up as a beast type for battle. Several thousand years ago, when he was summoned again as a greater demon, he killed his summoner, and through destroying the country, became a demon beast, and came to be called the legendary demon beast. Although he was always bloodthirsty, he has become a demon with a heavy air of intellect after thousands of years of being a demon. He is still a body without a vessel, and now he is looking for one so that he could maintain his presence stably. Noah. Magic power, 77,000 species, incubus. Demon title, archdemon, demon lord candidate. Appearance of a 15-year-old. Height, 174 centimeters. Russia's exclusive butler, with brunette hair hanging over his forehead covering his blue-gray eyes, with the appearance of an attractive boy. A special individual who had been changed by Russia at the larva stage, a specially remodeled demon. When he takes on his demon form, he grows out jet black goat horns. Uses a release ability that is paired with his twins, absorption ability. Prudent and always looking thoughtful, he is always thinking of how he can better serve his mistress, and constantly pores over strategies. Occasionally, he wears glasses. Magic power, 76,000 species, succubus. Demon title, archdemon, demon lord candidate. Appearance of a 15-year-old. Height, 164 centimeters. Russia's exclusive bodyguard knight who takes the form of a beautiful girl with blue-gray eyes and long brunette hair. A special individual that had been changed by Russia at the larva stage, a modified demon. Whenever she assumes her demon form, jet black goat horns grow. Uses their absorption ability that is paired with her twins, release. Her behavior is reckless, and although she's quite the carefree character, she has comparatively more common sense than expected. The golden sword, Nyanko, that makes a Nya sounds in her mistress' voice is her treasure. Tina. Magic power, 80,000 species, Gorgon. Demon title, archdemon, demon lord candidate. Appearance of a 12-year-old. Height, 155 centimeters. Russia's handmaiden with blonde hair and blue eyes. A cool-looking girl. A special individual changed by Russia at the larva stage, a modified demon. When she takes on her demon form, her hair becomes hundreds of golden snakes. An individual with great fighting prowess with physical attacks, with her golden snakes and a powerful petrifying ability with her gaze. Although her speech and behavior are usually quite cool and collected, and she works hard, her love for her mistress is too strong, and makes her head hazy. Incidentally, she is a dirty-minded one, and flat as a board. Fanny. Magic power, 74,000 species, nightmare demon title, archdemon, devil candidate, appearance of a 12-year-old. Height, 152 centimeters. Yerushya's maid who took the form of a fanciful-looking girl with blue eyes and silver hair that reached her shoulders. A special individual that had been changed by Yerushya at the lava stage, a modified demon. In her demon form, her hair turns white and her face will form into a harlequin's mask. She can plunge thousands into a nightmare just by them seeing her. The events that they experience in the nightmare are felt by them in reality, and destroy the spirits of those experiencing it. Her speech and behavior are childish, and only happen whenever something fun to her has happened. On things that concerned her and Yerushya though, she works seriously, very good at being spoiled. Unexpectedly large chest. Geese. Magic power, 5,000 species. Behemoth. Demon title, Greater Demon, potential demon beast. Its original appearance was a brutal demon with a bull's head and a bear's body the size of a mountain, but after the recoil from being rapidly grown by Yerushya set in, it's currently a teddy bear. Being reincarnated from Earth into another world, his regret over his wife on Earth had been used by the Demon Lord. Afterwards, his contract had been snatched up by Yerushya, and his soul reincarnated on Earth again. Having committed countless sins, and having taken countless lives, this powerful soul that had been reborn twice was reborn as a demon, and became Yerushya's subordinate. It's being spoiled. Onzada, magic power, 4,000 species, Laplace. Demon title, Greater Demon, potential devil. He became a demon through a contract with Yerushya while he was human, but since there was only a stuffed toy as a vessel nearby when this happened, he is now a moving rabbit stuffed toy. The childhood friend of Yuzu, Yerushya's past life, or rather, her childhood sweetheart, because of his promise to protect her. As soon as he protected Yerushya and was reborn, he had become a strong individual. A Laplace is a demon that could look into the reaches of time, and that power had been integrated into Onzada's prediction abilities that he'd had since he was a human being. His speech and behavior, far from being a young boy, sounded more like a tired older uncle in life. His favorite thing is sake. Mephi, magic power. Species. Demon title, devil, bestower of wisdom. Appearance of someone in their mid-20s. Height, 185 centimeters. A beautiful youth with red eyes and navy blue hair that didn't reflect any light, making it look like black. A true devil that had been traveling between dimensions for thousands of years. His demonic form causes him to grow 6 bat wings the same color as his hair. Until Yerushya had appeared, he had been the sole devil in the multiverse for thousands of years, and as the only person of the same type as Yerushya, he called himself older brother. Nobody knew what he was thinking, but it seems that he'd given Yerushya, who had become a devil, through unusual means, insufficient knowledge. His hobby is winning arguments on the internet. Greater Demon Army members. Magic power, 2,000-3,000. Number, population reduced from 2,000 to 400. Special individuals that the attendants had created with the bodies of the vampires. Stronger than normal. Greater demons. They were a demon army that existed only for Yerushya. They've been given a certain amount of modifications and education, and worked well even if they were only given dry seaweed. Usually, they would be in the subspace that was governed by Noah, Lost Eden, processing the seafood. Heranas. Annihilated. Magic power, 650,000 species, monkey. Demon title, Demon Lord, Harvester, 12 pillars of the demon world. A normal demon that had been born in the demon world that had eventually advanced to a Demon Lord, after 1,000 years, usually looked like a human noble, but when his emotions surfaced, his monkey-like appearance would emerge. Although he excelled in his cunning and in gathering souls, because he gave priority to his hobbies like many other demons, he took hundreds of years to harvest good souls. He was one of the 7 Demon Lord pillars of the demon world, but since he'd only existed about 1,000 years, he was the youngest of them. Having lost the contract with Yerushya in the battle to take the soul of Geese, he had been destroyed by a slim margin after fighting Yerushya, who was slightly inferior to him. He enjoys working with bonsai.